This is Connor here. We're going to do a Halloween horror podcast just about our horror movies. People should introduce themselves, I suppose.
Hello, I'm Ali, and I've been known as Ali Horror since I made my email address Ali Horror in 1997. So Ali Horror.
I'm Mark Sheridan. I'm the writer-director of my debut feature, Chromewood, which is premiering this Sunday at the Horrorthon, and there's nothing else of worth to know about me.
Awesome. This Sunday?
This Sunday? No. It depends when you're listening to this. The 30th of October,
30th
shall we
of
say.
October. I'm Conor Dowling. I'm a filmmaker from Dublin, and I am a huge horror fan. That's why I'm here, I suppose.
Good job, yeah. Okay, well, let's go to the... This is terrible, going to my notes. It's like so unprofessional. Yeah, so one of the things I guess we're going to start with is like just top all-time favourite horror movies. So I wrote down my 5. It's actually very hard to think of 5.
Incredibly
It is,
hard.
yeah.
It's really
I've
hard.
struggled.
Yeah.
You texted me the other day and said, we'll just be talking about easy things like top 5 horror films, and I've basically been agonised. It's like, yeah, easy. Okay, great.
I have 7 because I was like, I can't just do my because
Yeah.
technically 2 are TV movies, so it's like, are they technically films? And I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna put them in there.
Right.
So I have 7, just
Yes.
so you know.
Somebody asked me to do like a top 10, and I did like 15, and also at number 1 I put in 5, as in these are the ones you always just
Yeah.
Because like you don't want to waste. It's like, do you know what I think it is? You want to put your obscure ones
Yes.
in, but
totally.
but the classics are always in the top.
Yeah.
Whatever, you know,
Yeah.
you can't ignore.
See, I was thinking, but what about my obscure ones that people here go, oh yeah, that's a good one, yeah. And I was like, no, I'll just go with the top 5. But mine's always changing, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
always gonna, like, I watch a load of horror films, like, every October. Like, I just kind of watch nothing but horror films. And after each month, after each October, I have, like, basically a new top 5. But there's 1 or 2 that always stay in there.
Yeah, mine hasn't changed for a long time though, which just goes to show you, hopefully your movie changes it, that there's, and apart from Connor, I'm digging a hole. Shit.
Are your top 5 including 3, 4 of Connor's
Oh,
films?
Yeah.
all of them. Yeah, I'll stop talking. Love you guys.
Connor, top 5.
My top 5. I nearly have to look at the one I wrote down because it's like it's
yeah.
even changed since I wrote
Absolutely.
it down.
Let me hold it for you.
So, Jaws,
Okay,
You know.
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2,
Oh yeah.
Yes.
The Innocents.
Beautiful.
You know,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, I know this is gonna like cause a fight. People adore that film, and I couldn't get into it. I found it too slow. Yeah.
I love it.
like I think because I mean my memory of it it was the first black and white film I think I had to turn off because it creeped me out.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, the first time I watched it. Yeah. And it is one of those films I've seen so many times, and its influence, like the others, is basically The Innocents kind of.
Spoiler alert. And how did you watch that? Was that one of those sitting at home late at night on your own, or?
I'm trying to remember because I never heard of it, so it actually must have just been on. Because I don't think I'd never heard of it at the time, and I just started watching it. But there's a bit where the guy he appears she's hiding behind the curtains,
Yeah.
and his face disappears.
That's terrifying. Yeah.
And the kids are brilliant. Like the performances, I thought were great. But it's just one that kind of has stuck with me, you know.
Big influence in the canal as well, I'd say.
Yeah.
Parts of that, but, yeah.
I only saw that for the first time, The Innocents, last year, because Martin Scorsese did this top 10 scariest films everyone should see,
Right.
and that was in it. And I just kind of went through the whole list. I was saying I'm going to watch all those movies, and that was one of them I watched it. Thought it was brilliant. Too.
Like Walking Through the Eye, if I there's a poster for The Innocents, is that a remake or?
I don't think so. No, I think it's totally unrelated.
Okay.
Because I equally looked at it and went,
Yeah.
What
yeah.
does it have Deborah Kerr? Who's on the
No,
film?
it's a modern film.
It's a modern, yeah. I think.
I think that's something else.
It's just something else.
Oh.
All right.
Someone clearly doesn't know about the actual Innocents.
Yeah.
So that's your number 3. Are yours in order? Are yours in?
We can't go that far.
That's commitment, like.
The Exorcist
Oh, yeah.
has to go in there. again, because it's the one film I'm still kind of afraid to watch on my own. Like, I wouldn't put it on. Like, I never put it on.
Really?
Because I do love it, but I'm also... It sticks with me. It's like the devil gets into my head.
Yeah.
I like it so much I can't watch it.
I was told when I was a kid that I looked like Reagan, and I had seen that movie as, like, I mean, I watched all of them as a kid, so I was always petrified that, you know, Captain Howdy was going to come find me because I looked like her. So that yeah, I feel you with the watching it on your own. It's like, it's going to get me.
Yeah.
Go on.
I know, it's just, but like, I think the first time we watched it in my house, the lights in my house genuinely started flickering. Like, now there's dodgy wiring in my house. But
the guy who did the wiring was possessed. But that's a different story.
Yeah.
Has anyone read the book of The Exorcist?
Yeah, I love the book.
I love the book. I thought the book was good, but I thought it was so interesting how it differed from the film. Like, it seemed like a huge portion of the book of The Exorcist was let's try and prove that demons aren't real for like 90% of the book, and then like the last like 2 pages is the exorcism.
Yes.
Wasn't it? Like, it was
yeah,
like
no, it does, isn't it? That, yeah, because I was trying to remember. I knew it was one way or the other. One was either it was much longer in the film or the book. So it's
like the investigation is going on. They're investigating, going into all these different churches and stuff, and at times it just becomes kind of like a mystery book. Yes. And then the last 2 pages are, and then there's a big scary exorcism.
Which is kind of a bit closer to what The Exorcist 3 ended up being, where it's actually more of a detective-y kind of investigation, and then they bundle in the exorcism at the end.
Was The Exorcist 3 the one with Richard Burton?
No, that's the...
Isn't
that the second one? That's the second one,
is
yeah.
It?
The
and then the third one is where Linda Blair's the grown-up.
No, that's with Linda Blair as well, though. Is it not, Richard? That's the second one. They're both... You're thinking of the second one.
Is it?
Yeah. Because I literally just have watched all 3 of them the last week, so I'm almost... Okay. I don't know why I'm not 100% sure, because I get really threatened when people are aggressive like you, but like...
So, Connor, that Exorcist is number 4 for you. In that list.
Sorry, Exorcist... Now, just to be clear, just Exorcist 1 is on my list.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, we're getting distracted.
Is that the one with Richard Burton?
Number 5? Or was that number 5?
Number 5, even like, this is a tricky one, because number 5 I have Suspiria, and I think again it's got its flaws. Like, I mean, I'm not a biggest fan of that dubbing that's sort of on it, but I remember the first time seeing it in the cinema with the music and the score, and it was definitely one of those films where I was like, what am I watching? I haven't seen anything like this, and also it's so unique. It's not very possible. There's nothing else you can kind of go, it's very similar to something that, you know what I mean? That style of that film is really cool. So I have a great fondness for that film, you know?
Yeah, I love that movie.
So, and the music.
The music. Oh
the
my
Goblin,
God. Amazing.
Goblin music is brilliant. Who we saw Goblin live doing Dawn of the Dead in the Lighthouse a while ago. That was brilliant. Oh, cool. So, recap, your top 5 are...
Jaws, The Innocents, Evil Dead 2, Suspiria, and The Exorcist.
That's a pretty good list.
That's a pretty good list. And just to make a note on that, you've no vampires in there, right?
Yeah.
You've no John Carpenter.
Oh,
No
way.
way. No.
A tear just trickled down Connor's face.
No Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, that would be
true.
No Freddy Krueger.
Well, like 5 is hard.
It
Because
is,
just
isn't it?
Like Freddy's on the periphery.
I know.
The honorable mentions
trying to
get
get
really
in.
interesting.
Oh, man.
Like he's tapping on the window.
Yeah.
Of
And
the
just
top
listening
5.
to your list as well, I'm going, shit, I need to get some of those into my list. Well,
I think it's
Sort that
because
out.
your really feel like your top 5 list you've
been
been judged.
yeah.
I'm petrified.
So
Like-
you're up next.
I've got 7. Okay.
Okay.
Because I'm the girl. I need to be... Yeah, I just made sexist comments about myself. Okay. Okay, so not in a particular order, apart from this one movie, which is my number 1. Pet Sematary.
Oh, yes.
Hands down,
Ramones.
like... Oh,
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Zelda, fuck
Yeah,
me
oh
sideways.
my God.
It's amazing. Elliot Goldenthal, amazing score. Fred Gwynn, love it. It's fantastic. Cage, I swear to God, when we were shooting From the Dark down in county
Offaly.
Offaly. Yeah, there was a kid down the back of the garden who was naked, and I swear to God, he was naked all the time, and he'd come into our crew house garden, and that kid was caged. That was a dead cage coming to get me every
Naked.
night. Oh, he was always naked. He tried to strangle a goose one day. Do you remember? I had to run out and be like, no. there was also a goose in our garden. But no, I think Pet Sematary is the, like, for me growing up, I saw that movie when I was like 4 or 5. My dad used to love petrifying me. And Pascow, who was actually in later years the good guy, didn't know that. He's one of the reasons why I'm still an insomniac, because I was petrified to go to sleep because Pascow was going to come visit me in my dreams. If only I had watched this movie when I was older, I wouldn't, you know.
He was so casual when he appeared, though. I think that's what was so scary about him. He's just like, wake up, Doc. What's our just on, like, are we, spoiler alert, are we presuming people have watched these films? Can we
I think
talk?
with Pet Sematary, you got to assume.
Because
I mean, you would hope
pause the podcast.
At this point.
And if they haven't, these are all great films that people should
No,
know.
it's just because when you're talking about Cage and stuff like that, like, it's just the way that kid falls over towards the end after the injection breaks my heart every time. Because he just falls and bangs his head off the wall, and the whole no fair daddy, like, it
breaks
chills
your heart
every time.
Are you not like? That's why children are petrifying. Cage, like, are you not like?
And the bit where he puts the scalpel on Joe's ankle. And it just comes apart. Oh my God!
Literally, like that is one of the reasons why you have to keep your feet under the duvet, just in case that happens.
Cage gets in there.
Because I didn't remember the bit in that film as well, because it's a bit, I remember rewinding a few times. There's a bit where the guy wakes up out of bed and he has a fright and he bangs his head off the sideboard.
What?
And it looks like he really did it. Like, it doesn't look like a stunt. It looks like a mistake, and he whacked his
They just
head.
left it in.
It's a proper, oh God, that hurt.
Yeah. I was just never sure if that actually happened or not.
Or if he's just a really dedicated actor.
Yeah.
I hope it's that one.
Isn't that though, like, it's one of those films that I think the reason I love it so much still is because it is a classic story. You know, it doesn't race into its scares. It's got this sense of dread. You've got this wonderful story about the Pet Cemetery. You've got Judd across the road who just kind of hums and haws. And,
We
go
down that road.
Yeah.
No harm,
It's a good story too.
The book. I read the book when I was a teenager, and it blew my mind. It was so good.
The book is like it's one of those like Stephen King like translated to film situations where
Done well.
Like I think it was done fantastically.
Did anyone see? Was it The Woman Behind the... Or, no, Don't Open the Door? What was that film? It was quite similar to the plot of Pet Sematary. It was about... I think it was set in India, about the place in the forest.
Behind the door.
Oh, is this the recent one? Yeah. Don't open the door. It was something, was it?
Something
or
like
behind
that.
the...
Something like that, yeah.
It was a similar idea to the kid.
The kid.
Yeah, very much so. Not as good.
No.
They just took that one idea and made an entire movie out of it, essentially. Maybe that's not what they specifically set out to do, but that's kind of what the premise seems like. Yeah. Number 2, Ali.
Oh, y'all are gonna hate me.
Okay.
But sorry, it needs to be said.
Twilight.
Okay. Fuck. Excuse me.
It's actually breaking.
Not the first one. It's so passe.
Sorry.
You're so fine. It keeps me from saying what it is because you're all gonna hate me. It's actually the 1999 remake of House on Haunted Hill.
Oh, yes.
Nobody likes it. I know this man does not like it.
I love the aesthetic.
I haven't seen it since VHS days, so I'd give it another go. I think it's okay.
I am a massive fan of the original William Castle one, but I saw that movie when it came out because, as a child, and Jeffrey Combs, who we all know is like a fantastic horror actor, him as Dr. Vonnegut, and just when they sped up his... I know I'm talking and you're not going to be able to see my head move, but when he does that thing with his head...
It'll translate.
It's horrifying. Petrifying. I just think that movie is fantastic. Jeffrey Rush being called Stephen Price, you know, like... I love that movie. I just think it's... exceptional.
Watch,
please do.
Yeah.
Please
it's one of those
do.
things that it so depends on what age you are when you see certain ones, because I think a lot of all our favourite films are so affected by when we saw them and in what context. And that's why, as much as there's some newer ones that I don't like, if younger people than me love them, I still think that's great, because it's as long as people are enjoying them, that's kind of all that matters. You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
why my top 5 keeps changing, because I keep going, oh, here we go, October, let's watch some scary movies. This used to scare the crap out of me, and I watch it again, and I'm like, oh no, it doesn't hold up. I need to take it out of my top 5, and it keeps changing.
Yeah.
But I remember House on Haunted Hill, and I remember being pretty scared by it, but I don't remember much else.
It's got like a great atmosphere in it again, because like that's what most of my top horror films are. It's all about the atmosphere.
Okay.
Okay, number 3. I don't know if this is technically a horror movie, but I consider it one. It's Ravenous, which is also from 1999. The cannibal one.
Yeah.
I still haven't
Yeah.
seen that.
It's phenomenal. Like Michael Nyman and Damon Albarn do this exceptional score. Like David Arquette gets eaten in it. Robert Carlyle is petrifying in it.
I remember him from the poster.
Yeah, and Guy Pearce is it's phenomenal. I love that.
Give
movie.
us a 2 or 3 line synopsis of the film. 'Cause I guess for some people who haven't actually seen these films, probably give them a
Good
sense
point.
of what we're actually talking
So
about.
it's based during the American Civil War, and it's taken a lot of its influence from the Donner Pass party like situation thing that happened. So it's about a guy who's disgraced from the army because he pretended to be dead on the other side, and he gets sent to this little small frontier village, is that what you call it, in the middle of nowhere. And this guy, Robert Carlyle, wanders in and says, oh, my my party were stuck up in the hills in the snow, and everyone's dead except for this one woman, like, we need to go save her. And so they go up and they find out that he is a cannibal and he wants to eat everybody. So it's amazing. There's a man trap, you know, like bigger than the one in Straw Dogs.
Right.
And it's phenomenal. It has you on edge because people can eat people. It's one of those real.
Yeah. It is
Yes.
one of those interesting things though, because cannibal films never really became a thing. Like, there's not that many cannibal. You know the way they're definitely. I mean,
There was a
in the 80s or the 70s, there was like
bit of a
cannibal
craze.
holocaust, cannibal. There was always
Cannibal
cannibal.
apocalypse.
For human
They were totally crazed.
It kind of blended in with the zombie thing,
Yeah.
and then zombie just took it over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it forgot about. I mean, like Hannibal Lecter. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's shit ass scary. You know?
Yeah.
People can eat you. That can happen. You won't get spinal meningitis, but you can be eaten. Okay, so next one.
Yeah.
Dog Soldiers.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I specifically wrote down this line. Again, I'm sorry, feminism. It's just that time of the month. Best line ever. I'm sorry. That was perfect. Sean Pertwee talking about his guts being sausages.
Yeah.
They won't fit back in. Liam Cunningham, Kevin McKidd. I just think it's a phenomenal. It's the best werewolf movie I've ever seen. I think the werewolves are horrifying. The music is fantastic. The story, I had no idea it was going to go. I don't want to ruin it. Can I ruin it?
Ruin it.
Yeah, I think we can get pretty close.
Again, I hope
to
you've
the end.
seen
I've seen
Dog
it.
Soldiers.
I've seen it, but I can't remember a lot of it.
Right.
But I did. I do remember. I loved it. I've only seen it the one time. Like,
The werewolves do look amazing.
They're
They're
amazing.
definitely, the costumes are incredible. Yeah.
They're like I've never seen a werewolf movie quite like it.
Because that's always the problem. Like, even like, 'cause I think you're a huge fan of. Sorry, talking to Conor now. Like, of American Werewolf in London and everything. But like, even like the Howling, and like, I really like werewolf films, but quite often I find that they tend to suffer when they get to that final stage. 'Cause it's just really hard. Like, obviously, American Werewolf, the transition and transformation is incredible.
Yeah.
But when he's a big beefy wolf, not so much. Dog Soldiers is what I had in my head of what a werewolf, kind of that mixture between person and animal would be.
Humanoid. They're upright and they're
big
they're just,
beastly
they're
heads.
It's like they're
It reminded me of Aliens or something.
Yeah,
You know?
like
That
Predator, like just this, like, and their fingers, like you can see their silhouettes, and it's just like these really long, and you're like, shit, those are gonna literally take out all my sausages, like, you know, they're gonna be really sharp, like, no. Like, I just think it's amazing. I'm going to skip my next one because we've already talked about it. The Others.
Okay.
The Others, okay.
The Others.
That's on your list as well.
Oh yeah,
It's in your top 5.
the absolute pacing of that film, the atmosphere, just I love it. It's like the Truman Show for horror fans.
Do you remember the trailers when that came out years ago, and just that shot of Nicole Kidman coming into the room with a kid underneath the sheet, and like, who are you, and all this stuff. That was terrifying.
Yeah.
Do you remember the scare in that film where she's opening all the windows and there's a painting and you just see the outline of a figure And you think it's a real human
Yeah,
behind her, but then it's just the light. It's just a painting. But I remember that
And
was
that was
terrifying.
great as well, that you were playing with the light. It was,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
again, it was...
And the twist at the end as well, of course.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Stroke of
M.
genius.
Night Shyamalan couldn't do that.
M. Night Shyamalan style, yeah.
So, because I basically skipped the others, I'll put 6 and 7 because I know
Yeah,
I'm
go
not
on.
allowed to have
Shoot.
6 and 7. So every Christmas, Connor knows this. Every Christmas, back in the 70s, the BBC used to do a ghost story for Christmas based on like an M.R. James story or one of those Gothic literature writers. And so my dad had these on VHS, and we watched them every Christmas. So Christmas is for me more about horror, and so Lost Hearts.
Mine is also about horror, but
Tune in for the Christmas special, folks.
Lost Hearts. Oh Jesus, it's gone.
Lost
Hearts.
Never seen it.
It's like
is this the thing?
the hurdy-gurdy music.
What?
That was my impersonation of it. Wow, hurdy-gurdy. Hurdy-gurdy.
Hurdy-gurdy is based on the M.R. James story about basically this guy who wants to live forever, and he eats the hearts of children.
Whoa.
And this was made in 1973. It was a TV film made for the BBC, shown on Christmas Day, and it's horrifying.
Just after the Queen's speech.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you're having too nice of a time this Christmas, watch this to take you down a peg or
Yeah,
two.
before you had Emmerdale and Coronation Street have their depressing murder episodes on Christmas Day. That's great. Is that available at all? I'd love to
It
check
is.
that
They
out.
actually last year, I think, because you got it as
Oh,
well.
they reissued
Yeah.
all those BBC ones. But
Cool.
the other, I don't know
Which
if
is
it's on your one. Is
amazing. Yeah, no, Lost Hearts. It's
is that it? There's another one called Whistle and I'll Come to
Whistle
You.
and I'll Come to You. It's
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Again, that was part of the series. I think they did three seasons, and it was every Christmas they released one. And the next one that was number 7 on my list is The Treasure of Abbot Thomas, which was the following year, and it's about a monk who gets obsessed with finding this corrupt abbot's gold that he's hidden in a crypt, and the gold is cursed, and he finds it, and it's about the curse that follows him. And again, 1974, like the makeup, there's no effects, it's pure atmosphere. It's like when you watch a Hammer horror movie and you see like a Highgate Cemetery. It's like that fear. It's just on screen, and I don't know how to describe it.
Wow.
They're just like Lost Hearts. Go watch Lost Hearts, get in a car, drive through the countryside. You will see 2 dead ghosts literally go, hi. No, it's that scary. It is that scary. You'll shit your pants.
So one is called Lost Hearts, and what's the other one?
The Treasure of Abbot
The
Thomas.
Treasure of Abbot.
But I'd also recommend
Whistle and I'll Come to
Whistle
You.
and I'll Come to You.
Yeah.
Whistle and I'll come to you. Okay,
That's
Yeah.
very creepy.
I'll definitely add
Yeah,
those
no,
to the
that's
list.
Yeah,
really
that's
good.
really good.
I'll
Yeah,
write those down.
it's amazing. Yeah. So, and there's a box set. Shout out to the BBC. there's a box set. It's called A Ghost Story for Christmas.
Incidentally, our
And-
sponsors.
And they're like, again, that VHS still exists, and even though we have them on DVD, still watch it. It's that childhood fear again of those ghosts. They'll never leave me. And the hurdy-gurdy music. If I could play it right now, I would.
Oh yeah.
Can you hum it?
I,
Can you do a duet of it?
I've already done. Clang. Is there a
Can I YouTube it? Oh no, it's on airplane mode.
We'll pipe it
Bing,
in.
bing, bing,
Connor will
bing,
edit
yeah,
it.
I'll edit that in.
That'll be the backing track for this conversation.
yeah. That could be good. Little intro music.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Interesting.
that's not copyright.
No, I actually
just record yourself.
I have been searching since the internet happened, because this movie means like it means so much to me. I have been searching to find that music.
Okay.
It doesn't exist anywhere. I can't find who wrote it. I can't find like any information about it. It's probably from an archive somewhere.
Okay.
Some chap just playing a hurdy-gurdy. They were like, "Oh, put that in." Like, it's horrifying. Real shit bricks.
So, recap your top 5 there. What were they?
The top 7.
Top 5.
Because she's
Top
a girl.
6.
It was too hard for me. So, Pet Cemetery, the remake of House on Haunted Hill, Ravenous, Dog Soldiers, The Others, and then Lost Hearts and The Treasure of Abbot Thomas.
Beautiful. Cool. Thanks for sharing.
Very good. Cool.
That's really cool.
Cool.
Do you wanna go
Okay.
next?
I'll go next. Yeah, sure. Conor Dowling speaking. This confusion of all the Conors.
Oh, yeah.
All two. Okay, so top film, and this is also my go-to favorite film, The Shining.
Okay.
Okay, did you guys know I was going to say that?
No.
So, always been a big fan of The Shining. It's one of those films that when I was a kid and I was sick from school, I used to rent it out in the video shop and watch it, and it probably terrified me, probably made me even more sick somehow. But always loved it, and then kind of in recent years, you know, there's been all these like YouTube videos about all the like crazy hidden meanings and stuff from the documentary Room 237, and like I get a kick out of all that stuff. You know, I don't read too much into all of the, you know, millions and millions of hidden layers in the film.
Nonsense.
Not all of it, some of it. Okay.
Well said. Apart
Whoa.
from that documentary, but well
Yeah.
said.
A lot of it is nonsense. A lot of it is very obsessive, crazy stuff. But I do think it's like a masterpiece of a film in every way, and I love the music and just the aesthetic of the film in every way. Number 2 on my list, Dawn of the Dead, the original Dawn of the Dead.
Which is coming out in 3D, I believe.
What?
Really?
I think they've done a 6 million remastering
Of the
Dawn
original?
the Dead in 3D.
In 3D?
Oh God,
I'm
That's
fascinated.
that's nonsense.
That's
that's
the new catchphrase of this podcast.
I probably saw the remake first, believe it or not, the Zack Snyder one in I think it was 2004 or something. I probably saw that first, and but I had already seen the original Night of the Living Dead, and then someone got that trilogy of someone I know had that trilogy on DVD of the Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead, and watched all three, and Dawn is just my favourite. But I was actually listening to John Carpenter recently talking on a podcast about zombie movies, and it wasn't him who made it, but he said he's friends with George A. Romero, and George A. Romero hates how everyone has just been milking his stuff for the past like 30 years, like all the remakes and The Walking Dead and all that stuff. Like, I mean, he just absolutely can't stand it. He thinks that there's no like original like zombie stuff being made. But that's
See, like, I'm a huge Romero fan. I think Connor, you are too.
Yeah.
But it's a bit rich for him because he's milked that dead thing. You know,
Yes.
Survival of the Dead. I'm sorry, like, you
he's
know,
built his own stuff.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But no, Dawn of the Dead I think was my favorite. But I've shifted back towards Night as
Okay.
time has gone on.
The
But,
original.
Yeah. I don't know why actually, because originally it was Dawn of the Dead 100%,
Yeah.
and just for some reason over time I've kind of shifted back. But it's an incredible film.
Yeah.
There's just something about when they're in the shopping mall and they have all the supplies and they get into the gun shop. I just feel so like
But
secure.
it's the fantasy though,
and,
as well, isn't it? This whole having freedom of
Yes,
the shopping centre,
yes.
and the, you know, just those scenes where they cook the dinner and the thing.
Yeah.
And
It's
take whatever you want.
light-hearted in like this
Yeah.
like horrifying atmosphere.
Totally, and then even the social commentary on like the zombies coming back to the shopping mall, like it's just a real fuck you to the consumers. I love that. Like, and then me and Connor went to the Lighthouse to see, I mentioned earlier, Goblin play the live score to the film, and that was just mind blowing. Like, although there were times you were watching the film and getting so engrossed that you forgot there was just a big band right in front of you. Okay, yeah. So number 3, always been a big Nightmare on Elm Street fan, always been a big Freddy Krueger fan, and my favourite one of those films always changes, right? And for the purposes of this top 5, my favourite Nightmare on Elm Street film is Dream Warriors.
It's gotta be, yeah.
Oh my god, Dream Warriors. Ali was showing me a number 2 there. And has anyone actually seen the documentary about Nightmare on Elm Street?
The legacy one, the
No,
3-hour.
Yeah, I've
Oh.
never like
It's
sat down to
incredible.
watch it.
Surprisingly brilliant.
Yeah.
It's so good. But I just love Freddy Krueger. I love all that stuff. And Dream Warriors, like, I mean, I just remember seeing that on TV years ago, and that scene with where the guy gets turned into the puppet.
It's horrifying.
It's crazy. And
It's-
the
You
guy,
feel it.
the guy who sees him is the one who can't talk. So he's like trying to warn everyone. He's like, you can't talk. It's so good. And then even the scene where that guy who can't talk gets taken away by the beautiful nurse into the bedroom, and it's Freddy, and she ties him to the bed with the tongues and the below. Who made that film again?
Is that Rennie Harlan?
No, Rennie Harlan did number 4.
Yeah.
4, okay.
It was written, I think, by Frank Darabont.
Oh,
You're
wow.
right. He was involved. Yeah, I don't think he came up with the original concept, but he was brought on to do the script. Yeah, it was one of his first big jobs.
Yeah, exactly. I can't remember who the director was, but it was. I think they did a fantastic job. Yeah, and I loved kind of the callback to Nancy and her dad being like the kind of worn out, like alcoholic. Yes, so that's kind of my favourite Freddy Krueger movie, the third one. Number 4 on my list is Rosemary's Baby.
Good call.
What a film.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Jesus Christ. I've seen that a few times. And actually, I went to see it in the IFI a year or two ago, and everyone in the cinema was just laughing through the whole film.
Really?
And
I
was like,
hate that.
what was going on?
I literally go around murder
I
everyone.
was freaked. Me and my friend were just sitting there going, there's something wrong with these people. This isn't funny. Like, it's the most chilling film ever, you know?
Do you see the baby in Rosemary's Baby?
You do see the eyes.
You see,
Do you?
like,
You do. No, you do.
Because you always think you do, or
Yeah,
you
no,
don't.
you
and
definitely
it's
see
like-
the eyes and there's kind of fur around it or something. Is there not? There's a
do you not
blurry-
see it in the crypt or the
in
cradle?
the cradle, but I don't think you see the full thing. I think it's quite a close up of the eyes. See, I hate saying these things on podcasts because if you're in the pub, I would swear blind that I'm right.
But I think that's the
You have a
genius
theory.
of the film.
You have a theory about that, don't you, Hunter?
Well, my theory is that I don't think you do, but I think you do.
Yeah.
Do you think that we think we
I
do?
do.
I think you do think you do.
I think I do. I mean, I think you do as well.
I think, okay, I could be wrong here, but I think you see the eyes of the devil in
Yes.
the dream sequence
Yeah.
earlier in the film. But I don't think
Okay.
in the scene at the end where
not-
you see the baby in the crib that it cuts to the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I think she just says the eyes.
I think,
No.
We'll
I
need
think
to
you're
rewatch
right.
it.
Because I thought you didn't, but I'm almost sure there's a shot of the eyes.
I think everyone comes away from that film going, "Oh, and then remember the baby? It was so terrifying." And there actually is no shot of the baby. They just describe it. Yeah.
It could be subliminal. There could be a shot. There could be a shot of the baby
Polanski,
in there.
bastard.
You know, like in The Exorcist, when there's all those flashing, and you actually, if you pause it, you can see Pazuzu,
Oh,
and like
interesting.
it could
Just
be
a
like,
flash frame
like
of it, like-
yeah, Polanski could have just shot that in there. You know, like this, like maybe, and like maybe.
Okay, we'll follow this conversation on Twitter later on. So we have to check this one out.
Anyone who's watching Rosemary's Baby in the background.
But it is true that
at
you do
home.
remember something like whether that I think the shot is in there and that, but that's the same with people's memory of Texas Chainsaw and stuff, where they think there was a lot more violence in it than there actually was. Well, a lot more blood and stuff like that than there is.
Yeah.
And then people think, because I remember working in X-Division actually when Chainsaw got properly released again on VHS, and I had 3 different people bring it back swearing they'd seen Texas Chainsaw when it had come out, and this is a horribly cut down version, and there's bits of people being chopped in half and everything like that. But they genuinely believed it. Like they had that warped perception because it had scared them so much. They believed they must have seen so much more than what's in that film.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
Yeah. Rosemary's Baby.
Rosemary's Baby.
What a
That's
film.
great.
And Texas Chainsaw, like Jesus Christ. I think I've only seen Chainsaw once actually. And it was like way bloodier than
That's all you need. I remember first seeing that movie. You know when like it's at the very very start, and so they go in, and you know he opens the door and he just smacks it, and it's not the fact that he opens the door, he smacks it. It's his body.
It's the
Yes,
trembling,
thank you.
like a
Flopping on,
spasms, yeah.
and that scene is stayed with me like my whole life, and to me, like Leatherface can still come through the wall. I don't know why he'll come through a wall, not through a door.
like
but he's come
Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid. Oh yeah.
it's literally that. That's like he'll come through and just go whack.
It's just Homer from The Simpsons. Like, Bert, do you want to see my new chainsaw? Look at this.
But that's yeah.
Yeah, Leatherface. I saw The Devil's Rejects there a couple of years ago, and that was fucked up.
Phenomenal.
That was really
I
messed up.
freaking love that movie.
Yeah, there's a bit where
love it.
someone wears someone else's face or something, and it's just like a really what the fuck moment. You're just like,
But again, that's something that happened. That's like very heavily
Like
lifted from
gory.
Chainsaw 2.
Yeah.
Because the scene where Leatherface does put someone's face on a girl's face and everything like that. So like, I'm not necessarily a rip off, but it's a very clear homage, because I don't think there's a chance that Rob Zombie hasn't seen Texas Chainsaw 2 many times.
It's also an homage of Face Off,
like-
which is definitely due a
But,
remake.
what's his face? Hannibal Lecter does that as well. It's
Yeah.
House of
Oh,
Glass.
yeah.
True,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, has a little face swap.
Number 5 on the list now. Like this is a difficult choice to make. There's lots of things floating around, but modern horror, Scream. Love Scream. Always loved Scream.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a really genius kind of take on the slasher genre.
Yeah.
TV series, have you been watching?
I watched the first series, and I haven't gotten into the second series yet, but I thought the first series was good.
I was pretty impressed with the first series. I didn't think I
Yeah.
was going to like it. Like,
Yeah,
I kind of
same
stuck it
here.
on in the background, and like after a couple of episodes, it's kind of, I might pay attention to this, and because I'm not a big fan of horror on TV, but they did a decent enough
Yeah,
job.
no, I
of
thought
it.
so.
Yeah, they kind of reinvented it a little bit while staying true to the original style.
Is it the same story?
No, it's different.
No, it's like
story.
it is clever because it's done for TV, and
Yeah.
they say stuff like, "There's no way
At the start,
a slasher could last for a
yeah,
TV
yeah.
series."
In the first episode,
Like,
they have
everyone
that.
will be dead.
They have that obligatory classroom scene that lots of like kind of modern horror films have, where they're, a friend of mine said it's like rule 51
Yeah.
of horror films, like, the lecture in the college or in the classroom is going to be about like the theme or the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
But in the Scream TV show, they have this talk about slashers at the start, and there's just this really like obvious like kind of track in on the guy or something when he's saying it about how the slasher can never last. Yeah, but a big fan of the Scream series. What about you guys? What do you think of
I
the film?
loved the first Scream. Yeah, I thought it was genius. Mostly because I could relate to what's his face, the guy talking about all the horror rules,
Kevin
and I
Reeves,
was like,
or-
Yeah, me too.
I'd survive.
Totally.
And obviously had a massive crush on Billy Loomis.
Of course.
Of course I did. Oh, he could kill me any day. Like,
Yeah, I think what I loved about it was because I remember seeing it in the cinema and I was terrified, like really scared. And so it did that brilliant thing of being very funny and really scary.
Yeah.
So it didn't fall into one or the other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It worked as a horror film and it also worked as a commentary. on
Yeah, it's
horror.
very entertaining though as well. Like it's fun to be scared
Yeah.
kind of thing, in the
Yes.
same way that
Yeah.
Sam Raimi kind of goes for as well. It's actually not
Yeah.
just dark and miserable.
Yeah.
You're being scared, but you're having a laugh as well.
Yeah.
Because I was a little harder on when I first saw them, I guess, because it was that meta look and a little bit winking at the camera, and that kind of got worse as films kind of followed on after Scream, like where everyone was kind of making fun of these films, and I love those films. But I rewatched them recently again, and actually, they really do stand up.
Yeah.
I was surprised even the sequels actually work well.
The sequels do as
They're
well,
not
yeah.
as bad as they
Well-
might get credit. Like
I mean, they're all right.
3 is pretty good.
Two is the one with Cotton with Lee Schreiber.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that was good.
But it does stand up
It
actually.
was. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it just feels like Wes Craven spent a good 20 years making horror movies and working within that genre and just kind of consuming everything that came out, and then just said, okay, this is getting kind of stale, it's not working anymore, and he just totally reinvented it and turned it on its head, but kind of stayed true to a lot of the rules
But
from
like,
it. And
at that time, horror had completely died.
Yeah.
So it needed that kind of, because it was that college or high school, whatever it was, sexy, 1990s,
Yeah.
like horror, and
The
that's
Faculty.
Oh yeah, well it
That's a
spawned.
great movie.
It spawned like just so many kind of things, like trying to imitate it. I know what you did last summer. Faculty,
which is great.
Which
Uh,
is
Urban
actually
Legends.
very-
Urban Legends.
Urban Legends is also
I liked
great.
Urban Legends. I
I
still
have
do.
to say it's a great movie.
Disturbing Behavior. Does anyone remember Disturbing Behavior?
No.
No.
That was another good kind of high school one. I think maybe Katie Holmes was in that or something. Yeah.
Or Idle Hands.
Idle
Oh,
Hands.
that was class.
Love
It's
it.
great.
I that's one of my go-to Halloween movies.
It's
I
a
stick
great
on and it
Halloween
feels like
movie.
Halloween. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of the weird thing about Wes Craven, is that just when you're saying, because he did kind of reinvent or brought horror back into the mainstream with that, but then when you think, like, he did it with Last House on the Left, he kind of did it with The Hills of Eyes, Nightmare on Elm Street, and then Scream. Like,
And Freddy's New Nightmare.
well, yeah,
which
absolutely
was-
being one of the best.
Wes Craven's New Nightmare?
Yeah, Wes
Was,
Craven.
that was
Did I
brilliant.
say the wrong name?
No, actually, but no, it was, and that for me is better than Scream, because that was before, and it's the
Yeah,
same thing though.
it
It's that
is.
same understanding.
It's a movie about the movies. It's very meta and it's so ahead of its time.
But of
It's
all those kind of
brilliantly ahead
horror
its time.
masters out there, he's one of those few people who has actually like kick-started trends a
Yeah,
number
yeah.
of times. While most of them are kind of famous for one particular
True.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jesus, yeah, you just forget he's started so many different things and like he's at the top of so many different franchises.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Come on, Mark.
Good list.
Hold on until I open up my phone.
Dun, dun.
Well, no, I think actually the good thing that was nice about most of this, I don't think we've got too much crossover, because that was
Haven't
kind of
got
my...
any.
Yeah. No, not one.
Well,
all
did you
the
go-
others.
You,
The others
no,
and
he
the
had
innocents.
the others. You just said the Innocents, yeah.
You don't have the remake of House on the Haunted Hill there.
Damn it. Okay, so my top 5 were, and again, it's one of those things you struggle with, but yeah, I'll just go for it. So number 1, The Brood, David Cronenberg.
Ah,
I
good.
just love, like, huge Cronenberg fan in general, but The Brood particularly, it still disturbs me. I don't know, it's again like the Pet Sematary, the child fear type thing. Those kids with the little anagrak kind of coats and the pale faces. You know, every time I see a child with a coat, I just want to push it over and run away. But it's just, yeah, it's really creepy. And then when it gets into the later stage stuff, especially if you see the uncut version, it's particularly disturbing and graphic.
Oh, I haven't seen the uncut.
Like horrendous, giving birth to
That
stuff.
scene where Oliver Reed.
If you ever wanted to see a mother clean her fetus,
Okay, that's horrifying.
that's the film.
I definitely don't need to see that. But no, the scene where Oliver Reed, I think he's rescuing someone from like this room full of kids.
Yes.
And it's just this like kind of wide shot, and they all start coming down.
It's
off
their
the
little
bed.
shed they live in.
Oh, it's terrifying. It's
Yeah.
so good.
So number 2, actually, I'm surprised it hasn't come up from other people. Halloween.
Oh yeah.
I had to put it on there.
Yeah.
And I nearly didn't, just again trying to show the more interesting, more obscure ones,
Yeah.
but just Halloween was one of the first ones I saw that way, and it still creeps me out. Like Michael Myers, for me, of all the famous bad guys, just scares the shit out of me because it's especially all those earlier images of him just outside the window watching through the washing, or you know, in the shadows watching, but he doesn't do anything. He just lets people go by, and it's that kind of comfort with going, I don't have to get you now. That freaks me out much more than the kind of the aggression of the more like the Rob Zombie remake and stuff where it's very brutal, you know. It's the fact he could be just waiting for me, just really kind of I just think it's great. And obviously the music, when we talk about like Goblins of Dawn of the Dead, I don't think Halloween without the music would have been the same film. And when I hear that music, I just see, and I don't even see Michael Myers, I see that pumpkin. But I just absolutely love it.
I never liked any of the Halloweens. I
Really?
like the music.
Didn't work for you?
Slashers again. Like watching all these movies as a child, like slashers were just humans to me.
Yeah.
Like him standing at a window, moving slowly, walking. I was like, I could run away. Grand. Do you know? It's like, so I never felt the fear. So I'm envious of you.
So Halloween's not scary because it's about a person, and yet Ravenous is scary because it's about what people could do.
Well, Ravenous, because Robert Carlyle eats people in it. Like that's Begbie.
Michael Myers eats a dog. Okay, one of those forgotten facts, like where he's just munched a dog. Way worse than gloves are off.
Earlier he's like, oh, Ravenous,
when did he eat a dog?
It's never clear. They go to Michael.
Never specifically shown or mentioned.
It's this bizarre moment where they go to like the old Michael Myers house and they just find a dead dog, and Sam Loomis just goes like, he must have gotten hungry. And then no one mentions it again. It's this weird
But that
thing.
could just be he killed animals, because in the remake we see him killing animals at the start as a child. So that could just be a dead dog.
The remakes always do shit like that, where they like they just bring you back to like way before the film starts, and then they go, oh yeah, look at this gritty beginning to this character. It's
That's
like,
the one Halloween that I liked was the Rob
Really?
Zombie.
See, I think
Oh my god.
oh no.
I know.
Connor's okay, I'm gonna hold Connor down quickly. Put the knife down.
Because it gave me more to
Some opinions
reasons.
can be wrong. Right? Like,
Just the bit where Connor's actually gonna redub your voice.
The stuff I loved about the original Halloween was the music.
Yeah, I love the music.
Michael Myers, just the simplicity of just this guy in a fucking black jumpsuit and the white mask and the weird hair and just a knife in his hand. I just thought that was so terrifying, and he was just invincible for some reason, for some unknown reason. He didn't have to explain it. There was never like, why can he survive getting shot or getting stabbed or anything? Like, why? Nobody knows. It's just pure evil. The evil is fueling him. But you know, there's this still from Halloween where it's like just this picture of a suburb, you know, bushes, a front garden, autumn looking kind of thing, and I'm looking at it going, why is that so iconic? Like, it's just such an iconic image from Halloween. And you look to the right and Michael Myers is just standing right there in the middle of it, and it's just like he just kind of blends into the scenery, you know. I just and I was listening to John Carpenter on the podcast there the other day, and he was saying that, like, you know, when he made that film, he wasn't like trying to like get any particular message out there into the world. It was just specifically designed to scare the shit out of you. Those are his words. I just wanted to scare the shit out of people, and that was it.
But it doesn't.
Hi, John. John on the phone
I
here.
love John Carpenter. I think
Yeah.
he's fantastic.
Oh,
and
brilliant.
the only thing that I take away from that movie is the score.
music.
I think
Oh
it's
my God, yeah.
fantastic. But I want Michael Myers to scare the shit out of me. I want to see him outside
Careful
my
what you wish
window.
for.
I'm wishing for it.
Mark
I
is
am wishing for it.
setting it up right now.
Seething here in the While we're still talking to each other, let's carry on. So, number 3 on my list is The Legend of Hell House, which is my favourite haunted house film ever.
I haven't seen
You've
that.
seen it?
No.
Seen it? No, actually, you've...
See, I get mixed up with the Hill House,
Yeah.
the Legend.
Yeah, no.
which
So
is-
again, it's actually Richard Matheson wrote it.
Really? He's my favourite writer.
Yeah, and it stars Roddy McDowell. You're on from.
Oh, I
Geeks and stuff like
definitely haven't seen that.
It's just a really good haunted house film, and it's weird because it's not that scene. And I discovered it on TV back in the day when Channel 4 used to do their late night horror series. Like,
I'm gonna
but
put that on my list.
yeah, no, it's everything that you want. There's not that many great haunted house films out there for some bizarre reason. We kind of think all stories are kind of haunted house stories, but they're not really. But like even at the very beginning, they just organize this mission. Like it starts with them arriving at the house, so it's like straight in there. And like one of the guys just describes it as the Mount Everest of haunted houses,
Right.
and just immediately you know you're in for something like. And it just there's plenty of stuff happens, but it just keeps at you, and it's very. You know what I liked about kind of some of the older horror films, and this is kind of mid-70s, I think, so it's not like a really old film. It might even be the early 80s. They, whenever something weird happens or scary, like everyone just kind of looks grimly at each other, and then it just moves on. There's no kind of huge score attack. There's no kind of people losing the plot. They just kind of, they suffer through it, you know, with this trying to get to the bottom of this mystery. But really, really worth checking out, and it's got a nice kind of twist at the end. But definitely, if you're interested in the kind of haunted house, it definitely has like comparisons with the haunting and stuff. But really, really worth haunting out.
What's it called?
The Legend of Hell House.
Written by
Hell
Richard
House.
Matheson.
Yeah,
Legend
Wow.
of Hell House. When was it made?
I think it's the mid '70s, but
Any famous actors in it, or
just Roddy McDowell.
Oh, right,
Well,
yeah.
famous.
And is he doing his comic routine, or is he?
No, he's a psychic
Okay.
who's
Excuse me.
trying to not do. I think he's there for the money or something else. He doesn't really want to be there. Kind of Stephen King's Rose Red sort of touches on a similar sort of notion of it. Yeah, which is a very good adaptation.
I love
yeah.
that. Love it.
But so that would be in that kind of a world.
Amazing.
Speaking of haunted house films, just as a almost like as a genre in itself, one film that I saw only last year for the first time, and it's just shy of my top 5, is The Changeling.
Brilliant.
Oh, yeah,
film.
yeah.
She's
My
that.
God,
Yeah.
the original Changeling, not the Angelina.
Not,
Yeah.
not Angelina Jolie, not Clint Eastwood.
It's like this guy moves into this big old crazy house, and there's this crazy banging noise happening at like 6 a.m. and you're just like, I remember watching it going, I there's no way I could possibly predict what that banging noise is going to turn out to be, and then when you find out what it is at the end, you're just like,
Yeah.
there's no way I could ever
yeah.
predict
This,
that.
just so I remember, this is the blind priest up at the top of the room, is it?
No, what's
Don't-
that?
With
no,
the
I don't-
demons, and it's is that not the
No,
Changeling?
it's
No, the change is trying to do
This
an
one with
investigation.
George C.
Yeah,
Scott.
yeah.
yeah, and
Without ruining too
his
much.
his family die at the start, and he moves into this big old mansion by himself, and he starts hearing these crazy noises, and he starts to investigate what happened in this house before him, and it leads him on this investigation. And the whole film is more like a mystery than anything else.
Yeah,
but he
yeah.
brings in, I think he brings in a medium, and they start trying to like record stuff, and like weird stuff starts happening. But if you haven't seen it, I'd seriously add it to your list.
Really?
That was
It
another
is
one.
very, very good.
That was another one on the Martin Scorsese top 10 scary films. And I watched it last year, and I was like, "This is in my top 10 now." 'cause
It's so
that
nice when you
good.
discover something like that, though, isn't
Yeah.
it? 'Cause you've seen
Yeah.
so many, and there
Oh,
is
you think you've
loads
seen
of,
everything?
Yeah, but there
Yeah.
are loads of great films out there like that that even people who think they love horror films haven't seen, and so it is worth kind of looking into these
Yeah,
kind of ones
yeah.
because they just for whatever reason just didn't catch on as
Yes.
big as other ones
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
I think Black Christmas is another good slasher film that doesn't actually
Brilliant.
get enough
Yeah.
credit. Very
Yeah, yeah.
disturbing and kind of nasty. Right, where am I? Number 4 is Suspiria, actually.
Oh,
So
Yay.
we have a joint
Snap.
comparison. And while you were somewhat apologetic for it, I'm kind of not going to be. Though I struggled with it.
I don't
kind
know
of the
why
same-
I'm a bit apologetic, because I love the film.
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
but I know what you mean, because I was thinking the same thing, but when I thought about it, just, like you said, it's the music, the colours. I'd never seen horror done in that kind of way before. And it was just so striking and...
Gaudy.
Yeah, well, because a lot of the horror films, especially then that I saw, they were kind of dark and grimy and kind of sneaky. It was a quieter type thing, and like from the first moment of Suspiria, you're just in there. Music's up at full.
Yeah.
Woman running through the trees, like no
Yeah.
explanation or anything what's happening.
Like, I've never seen a scene with somebody getting into a taxi and driving to a place, And that's a brilliant scene.
It is. You're already scared.
It's
She's just
horrifying.
ringing the doorbell to go in.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and whenever that music kicks in, it's just
And
chills.
It's bone
And the
chilling,
music
it
is
is.
so brash when it kicks in as well. It just blasts in all of a sudden.
I'd love to see it without the music, just to be curious, because like the music is such a big thing in Argento's films. But
I think it would still be horrifying. That scene with the shard of glass going into the heart.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Very unnecessary.
Oh yeah. Oh baby.
That's great.
Dario, I think she's dead.
That's because it's actually not gross. It's actually like you can feel that shard going in, and then just they go.
We can see the whole. It comes right out.
Yeah,
It's a big
and like it's not even.
But it's operatic, isn't it? Like it's so over the top.
Yeah.
But
It is,
like,
and like what you were saying about those colors as well. It's like you're like, is this gross? Is this scary? Because it's quite colorful. I'm enjoying watching this. What's wrong with me?
Totally.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, no,
It's a
it is.
great
I think
movie.
is that the Suska sisters are doing a remake of
Oh,
that?
really?
I think it's them.
Who's doing
I heard
The
something-
Suska sisters who did Dead Hooker in a Trunk and American Mary.
Dead Mary.
American
American Mary.
Yeah.
I've never seen American Mary actually.
American Mary's very good. I
It's
wasn't a
great,
huge fan of the
yeah.
very end of it, but the rest of it was really
No.
good. But I just don't see how you're gonna. I know, like, and I'm not one of these like no remakes can happen. You know, I don't like a lot of them, but there's no point getting some. No, but you know, it still can be interesting. But there are just some that you just kind of wonder. I just don't know how, because it was already so over the top, and I think if you pull it back, I don't think it's gonna really work
But-
either.
Yeah, there's some things that just can't be like that was in a time like that was a time like that's what do you call it like the Italian
Giallo.
Giallo.
Giallo. Yeah.
that's the word with a G, right?
Yeah.
The one that you read and you kind of go.
yeah.
Oh,
And-
Gialli.
And you can't like you can't get that back. Like
No, absolutely.
when you remake
You can't
that, you're
recreate
going to lose
Yeah.
like that time and like
Absolutely, you could totally do a very sterilized version of Suspiria. You could do it line by line, moment by moment, but it wouldn't have the same
No.
aesthetic.
Do you know what's interesting about Suspiria? Originally, that was supposed to be young kids. Like,
Really?
and
really that would be
Argento was
horrifying.
so
Yeah.
they had forced him to have them like older, you know, whatever, teenagers or throw them teenagers.
They would be, yeah.
You
I'd
know,
say that
they're-
they're 18 to 20.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly, yeah. But as a protest, he didn't change the dialogue. So the dialogue is the
That
exact
would make
same.
some sense, because the dialogue is slightly odd. And the
Childish,
girls
yeah,
are
yeah.
fighting over the ballet shoots and stuff like
Yeah,
that. But no, yeah, it's one of those ones that it's really worth seeing.
Yeah.
And if you can see it in the big screen, because actually
Oh,
I
yeah.
missed when Goblin were over doing Dawn of the Dead, but I did see Goblin doing Tenebrae and Suspiria
Oh,
back to back
wow.
live.
Yeah, yeah.
Where was that?
That was just
Was that up north?
what's the name of the theater? Just outside
Dublin?
of town. Yeah, it was incredible. Late night kind of theater place. Usual dance music stuff. District 8 ran the event.
Cool.
But yeah, no, just it was incredible again to hear that music live.
I'd
Though
love to see
very
that.
awkward and odd when there's like kind of 20 or 30 minute stretches where the band just sort of hang around there while the film just carries on.
Yeah.
But when it kicked in, it was amazing. And then the last on my list is The Wicker Man.
Hey!
That was
Nicolas
in my
Cage!
Ali's
No, hate that. Hate the remake. Just for the record. Hate
Yeah,
the
of
remake.
course.
Too late, the damage is done.
I was joking!
When
Connor, edit out all the joking bits.
when he punches that woman in the face, it's just like, what?
I am-
Fuck Nicolas Cage.
I am not letting the conversation of this be taken over by the remake.
Derailed. Totally derailed.
So,
Sorry.
the original Wicker Man, again, is one of those weird, and it was one of the great discoveries for me at the Horrorthon Festival, because I hadn't heard of this film. I'd just seen the poster before, and it was a double bill, I think, with the thing. I'm not sure.
Oh, deadly.
But went in completely blind, and then it starts with this folk music, and literally,
Yeah.
like, the whole crowd kind of giggled. It's kind of a natural reaction to this is odd.
Yeah.
And as it just went on, I don't know, it just gets under your skin, and the ending was just devastating.
Yeah.
You know, it
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
really was. And like, for me, like, it was a huge influence and stuff, and anyone who sees Crumwood will kind of get that kind of thing from it, because I just loved that they kept it quite real in a very
Yeah.
strange
Yeah,
way, and they
yeah.
never blew that.
Yeah.
And that made it all the more terrifying when it comes to its kind of conclusion. It's that celebration. The film ends on supposed to be a happy note with like happy music and people
Them all
smiling and
swaying
swaying.
and
You know, and
Yeah.
that scares me a lot more. 'Cause, you know,
Jesus Christ.
but when you show people being real, like, nasty, it's kind of easy to sort of just go, oh, they're just really bad people.
Yeah.
When people believe they're doing good, that scares me a lot more, because that's where a lot of that kind of bad stuff you see happens. Because people think they're the good person, they're much more likely to do something really bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think The Wicker Man, you know, it's gotten a lot more kind of credit over the last couple of years, but if you haven't seen it, I'd say,
Absolutely.
find
Yeah.
it, sit down, watch it,
Yeah.
buy the soundtrack.
Yeah.
I think a huge testament to that film is, for me anyway, I saw the remake first, having never heard of the original, going, oh, some new Nicolas Cage movie, I'll check this out, watch it, going, oh, this is terrible. Oh, it's a remake, got the DVD, watched it, and it was mind-blowingly good. It wasn't ruined by, the remake.
the
even
remake's so
knowing the
different.
kind of ending and stuff, that didn't take anything away
But
from
that's
it all.
because even the poster for and the DVD covers for The Wicker Man basically blow the ending.
Right,
They show the Wicker Man on fire. So it's not even that huge a surprise, but it still shocks you. I don't know. Even
Still
now,
has the
watching
Because
it,
you're not expecting it. You are, but at the same time, it's like it's so happy, it's so friendly, and then it's
but it's
not
done
so happy
because
and not
it's
so
so
friendly,
well at
and
the end because they're bringing him up the hill. Like we see his reaction first. It's the whole oh god,
Yeah,
and we don't even know what he's seen, and then it cuts to the and it's from his perspective. I think we really feel his horror in it. And it's not shot in that traditional horror kind of. Low angles or anything. It's very kind of almost documentary like sort of there you go.
More reality to it,
Like I heard of The Wicker Man. It was probably one of the first horror films I ever heard of. It just by chance when I was maybe 7 or 8.
Wow.
I think I walked in to the front room and my dad was watching The Wicker Man. And
chanting.
Come along, son.
and he
Now,
Don't look at me!
don't look at me. We need a good harvest.
How's that apple tree harvest coming on?
And all I heard was it was just must have been a scene with the police officer walking through the town or something. But and I knew my mother was shooing me out of the room, so I knew there was something scary, and I heard the word Wicker Man, and so I didn't know what the Wicker Man was. But for the next weeks, just the idea in my head was like, is it a scarecrow? Is it a... You know what I mean? So I had, for probably years, I didn't see the film for years later, but it was just this early memory of something scary or something that I shouldn't ever look at.
Yeah.
Forbidden,
Yeah, that's cool. Wow.
It's a good
What
list.
about, so that's everyone's list. Like, I know some people had kind of recent ones. I think the kind of 90s is about as recent as we got, though, isn't it? Like, is there anything over the last even, 5 or 10 years for people that stand out
Insidious.
as them? Yeah, Insidious. All of them?
No. Fuck no.
What
no.
about the third one? How did you not like the
I
third
still haven't
one?
seen the third
Jesus,
one.
no.
After the second one, I was like, no, you're like.
After
making me
watching the
laugh.
third one, you go back to the second one, you kind of go, all is forgiven. It's like watching
Yeah.
Terminator 3
Yeah.
after watching the 2 more recent ones.
Really?
Yeah, no,
No,
3 was
Jesus.
awful.
The third Insidious film was so far away from the other two, and it just
The
was
second one
disappointing.
was so far.
I
second
thought
one
the second one was fine. I loved the
Are you
first one.
serious?
Second one was fine. Third one.
Did you not think
Very
the
bad.
second one was literally like looking at a parody of itself? It was laughable.
Hated it the first time I saw
the
it.
whole time.
Rewatching it, it's actually it's not as bad.
Really?
Yeah, I was very disappointed the first time.
I wanted to walk out.
But they have for the fourth one because these things go that way.
There's a fourth one.
Yeah, but they've got on the
Stop
director of
listening.
The Taking of Deborah Logan. Did anyone see that? It was on
No.
Netflix. It's actually quite good.
Great movie.
Yeah,
Great
they've
movie,
started kind
yeah.
of recasting good directors for these sort of films. It's like actually, I think I wrote 1 or 2 of them down. You get, obviously Adam Wingard had just done the Blair Witch one, but
Yeah.
Mike Flanagan who did Hush
Oh,
and
yeah.
Oculus, he's doing the Ouija prequel, which is
I
just
know,
out.
yeah.
And then your man Sandberg who did Lights Out, he's doing Annabelle 2.
Yeah.
It's weird. They're actually getting directors who've done interesting, proper work doing these sequels. So maybe we're going to see a bit of a pickup, hopefully.
Yeah.
Well,
It'll take a lot to bring
that's
Insidious back.
what Insidious started doing. I think James Wan is like our Wes Craven. You know, he's
no.
oh wow.
Yeah, I disagree.
Wow.
I like him, but again, Insidious would probably be my favorite. Okay, forgetting Saw, but the much more than the Conjuring stuff. I find them actually much more.
Well, The Conjuring 2, I wasn't a big fan of the first Conjuring. The Conjuring 2, I'm still thinking about that.
Yeah.
I'm still processing
I'm the other way
it. I
around.
thought it was very interesting.
Yeah,
Because it was a ghost being haunted, which it's just these little things that make the movie stand out to me. Like the Insidious was like Freddy Krueger, but it wasn't like Freddy Krueger because it was you go to sleep and then you get lost. So it was a different take on it. And then The Conjuring 2 was, what if the ghost is haunted. And the whole way I was watching that, like, I mean, we were laughing our asses off, but like in that scream kind of, well, no, it was that scene with the
it was the painting. I couldn't get over that where he well, like he was there, it's like, oh, I'm just doing a bit of art.
Yeah, this horrifying picture, and he's like,
and she just kind of goes, okay.
Yeah.
The thing about
and then he puts it
Conjuring
up on the wall.
the thing about Conjuring 2 is that, do you remember that big Jack Skellington
Yes,
thing?
that's
That
for
was a
me.
joke. That was
Jumping
a
the
joke.
shark. Totally
But it
jumping
was.
the shark with that. Like.
It was like watching people who were off their head on coke writing it, because they had their scary creature, they had
Yeah.
their man, the old man, and they're like, we got the nun, okay,
Yeah.
cool. What else? Oh, we have the magic jump in the back
Yeah.
skylight.
Exactly.
And then
Which
it
was a
just,
joke.
they kept throwing more and more on top of it.
Because
Like,
Yeah.
the movie is supposed to be, this really happened. That was the big...
this is a true
But I
story.
think that was the big thing about the first one. You know what I mean? Because the first one was like, okay, it's a haunted house. There's possessions going on. There's poltergeist activity happening in the house. These are all things that we've heard of in films and in the real world. And we're like, okay, but some people say this actually happened. And then the first Conjuring was this actually happened to a family. So it's kind of all of those like spiritual activities, like like happening in one house. But then the new one was like that fucking Jack Skellington, Jack in the Box
I
thing. It was
agree.
like that's not a thing. That's not something that people have ever reported.
But if you read up in the story, though, like
That.
it's completely like the Warrens were only there for one day. They weren't even part of that investigation, and they
And
turned
the
up
movie
uninvited. They turned up uninvited and basically said, if we can make money off this, and then they were turfed straight out like that. The
Right.
Warrens, if you read into it, they're the most incredibly.
Shysters.
Yeah, they are. They're con artists. I think one of them's dead now. But
The Conjuring.
But it's the based on true story buzzing, because like if you didn't have that, I wouldn't care. You could go as crazy as you like. But that notion that everything now is inspired by true events is even a more kind of it's not even based on a true story, but someone once heard, someone may have seen this somewhere.
Yeah. And that's true.
Yeah,
probably.
like I don't know. I'd be happy for that kind of to be dropped from the beginning of films. It's just.
It's
Unnecessary.
it's kind of it is unnecessary, but at the same time, you're going for a horror experience.
With you, but
So,
for
like-
the first Conjuring, I think they could correct me.
I
if
didn't
I'm
know
wrong
that was a
about
true
that. Like,
story. But
well, yeah, well,
so,
supposedly though,
I've
again,
forgotten that
they've
part.
written books on it, but
Right.
you could believe a certain amount of that film, but then it comes up to a point where like is it the mom or something is tied to a chair and it kind of flips upside down or something?
Yeah,
and again,
yeah.
you immediately go, that didn't happen. And then like, if you read up on it, like it's literally it's explained that your one was in the chair and she pushed herself backwards and the chair tipped over, and you're kind of going, well, I believe that happened.
Yeah.
But maybe the ghost did that, maybe
But
not.
like, again, it's the experience. Like when you're watching something on screen, you need to show someone something that will literally make them shit their pants. So something like, I went to see Paranormal Activity 2. It's one of the only times I've walked out of the cinema because everyone was laughing. I actually tried to get a bunch of kids kicked out. I was that person. I was really aggressive towards them. I was like, shut the fuck up. But like you need to they were laughing because they were scared.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you need to show them these things, and so if you show them like a person just going, what? like it's not going to scare them.
But
You
then the
need to-
haunting still creeps people out, and there's nothing in that couldn't be explained by
the original.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think for things like to make it to properly scare people. But again, are you telling me the true story or not?
But you don't. That's the thing. You don't care about the true story. You just all you need to know is that it's based on a true story.
Sometimes.
Inverted commas. and then
They should put the inverted commas in.
and then just let
It's like,
your,
what?
and then
You're
let
actually-
your imagination run wild, because that's what the true story was in the first place, was someone's imagination. Like you said, this person said this, person said this, person said this. Like Dracula came from all of these, like the original Dracula came from
Yeah,
all
but
of these
no one tells me a
legends
story.
and-
Dracula says it's based on a true story.
Okay.
Well, they do actually. That's not true. Glad the Impaler apparently is all tied in. He's a Welshman now, and it's all fine.
Okay, I have a few other questions here I want to get through. So
Hit me.
let's. Can you remember your first or earliest horror memory, or not, or the
Horrifying memory from life.
or the first horror you saw? Or I mean, probably Thriller was one of the first things I saw. So it doesn't necessarily have to be film, but can you remember the first thing that might have got you into horror, or the earliest memory of watching a horror film?
There's two films that spring to mind as kind of, seeing over people's shoulders, like catching a glimpse of a film and going, oh, that looks cool, what's that? One was The Blob,
Right.
The 1988 version, which I actually watched again recently, and I think it's brilliant. I think it's really
Yeah, it's very good.
cool movie. I think Frank Darabont was involved in that. Maybe he directed it or he wrote it or something like that. And I remember just being in my auntie's house and like, you know, seeing like passing the sitting room, like one of my cousins was watching this movie, this big gigantic pink thing taking over the city, and I was like, that looks like the coolest thing ever, you know. But then I remember watching Flatliners when I was pretty young. I was a kid, and just that thing where Kiefer Sutherland's character, he flatlines and he goes into the past, and he has this memory of the kid going up the
Billy
tree.
Mahoney.
And he picks up the big rock. You remember his name?
Because they pronounce it wrong, isn't it? Mahoney. It's
Oh,
spelled
right,
Mahoney,
okay.
and you just hear the Americans go Mahoney, Billy Mahoney.
But just that image of the kid up the tree in slow motion going, no, please don't, and the kid picking up the rock and the big evil smile and throwing it at him, that's burnt into my brain. That is just like burnt into my brain, that image. And even watching it a few years later, I was like, oh, okay, here we go, let's watch it again. And just something about it, I think it just kind of planted the seed of terror from such a young age. So maybe it's not the scariest movie of all time, but when I watch it, it just feels freaked out. Like,
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, I think mine was probably, like, I know film-wise was probably RoboCop.
right.
Like, not necessarily horror, but I do remember, like, one, because I wasn't really allowed to watch horrors, which I think was why I got into them much later. But I was in my uncle's, and he told my mother that the RoboCop was like the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz. And she was like, okay, you can watch that.
The scarecrow just exploded over a truck.
And then there's
All I need is a brain. Or all I have is a brain.
And there's a scene in it where, this must have been my early, like, you know, horror coming out, but there's a scene in it where I think he kneecaps some guy, the bad guy. He shoots him in the kneecaps and he leaves a grenade on the table. And I was watching my brothers and sisters, and I rewound the scene, and they all looked at me like I was really sick. Because I'd rewound and I wanted to watch again the guy getting shot in the kneecaps.
But like that was explosive violence. It's like even nowadays watching the bullet wounds and squibs and that, like, are incredible. Like, it's
brilliant.
horrific.
It's a
That
Yeah.
scene where Peter Weller,
when he
the
gets
actor,
his
when he
arm
gets
blown off.
shot to bits at
Oh,
the start, that's terrifying.
terrific. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really good.
Do you want to go?
No, you go.
I'm not completely sure, like, say on like the very very first stuff of like horror films, but like my parents were kind of okay with me recording horror films off TV. It was kind of a weird thing. Like, there's like sex in it, absolutely not.
Oh, no.
You want to watch Hellraiser? Probably okay. But I remember I used to get up early in the morning before school to try and watch like a little bit of what had been recorded the night before. And so I think I saw, I don't know if it's the first 20 minutes or the first half an hour of Hellraiser. And the scene where Frank reforms out of the ground, I had never seen anything as graphically violent or disgusting as that before. And like, actually, that's one of the few times my stomach really turned. And it was just, I didn't know you could go that far. You know what I mean? And it just really knocked me for six, because that film is like, it's shocking, but without kind of jumpy kind of stuff. And it was just so in your face, and, you know, gothic music kind of kicking in, that just always stuck with me as, you know, I don't know. But that would definitely be a big one for me.
It's a great movie.
Brilliant.
It's a great movie. I pretty much said mine. Like my like I said, and Connor knows, my dad used to love. I basically, my mum almost gave birth to me because of horror movies. So I'm no, that's a true story. She went into labour.
Which one?
I don't know. I've never asked actually. I just know she's obviously too traumatized. So like I've always been like, obviously the
house
lost,
on
the remake 10 years before.
She had a vision.
I think like obviously the BBC ones, been watching them since like they were recorded before I was even born. Pet Sematary again, Interview with the Vampire was my favorite. That's not a scary movie though.
It is a horror film that, like, you know, I know you get that grey area of what's a horror film or not, but it is a horror film.
It is. That's in my top 20 horror films.
It's my favorite vampire movie of all time. But I think if I'm going to think of anything, it would probably be Evil Dead 2. I remember my dad used to tell me that the woman under the stairs lived under my bed. So,
Oh my God, the witch.
so it's not the witch, it's the mother. So I think like that's definitely like, again, because I these movies I saw when I was like maybe 4 or 5. So
Just calling child line.
you are laughing. I can laugh now. No, but and I thank him. I thank him for scaring the absolute shite out of me as a child. But the woman living under my bed, or the woman from The Shining, she also lived in my bathroom.
Yeah.
So and then what's it called? The Amityville Horror. One day he hid behind a door and he said, "Get out!" So that also lived in my house.
So I'm assuming, is your dad a huge horror fan?
God, yeah.
Really? And what would kind of be his wheelhouse? What would be his main horror stuff?
So he's in his 60s now. So I was mostly brought up on his favourites, which were like Hammer horrors.
Oh, cool.
Like really like obviously 1960s onwards, or prior to that, the 50s. Like Vincent Price is a staple in our house. We have a cookbook by Vincent Price.
Love Vincent Price.
Instead of this, I was going to get his face tattooed there, but my mum is still obviously traumatized from giving birth to me because of a horror movie, and I'm like, no, you can't have Vincent Price on your body.
Don't wave that elbow around in my face. And
that's definitely that woman under the freaking floorboards in Evil Dead Mother. Yeah, she's gonna eat my soul.
Swallow it, I believe. She doesn't even choose.
That's why she was so angry. She had indigestion.
What's next, Connor?
Well, we touched on it briefly. I was just wondering, and only because I watched one recently, but we were talking about films that kind of slipped through the net. So that you might have just saw recently that's like, how did I miss that movie? Like, and I know for me the one I saw was Carnival of Souls.
Oh yeah,
that's good.
Don't think I know that one.
And it's great. It was made early 60s.
The original,
yeah. And I mean, they say it had a big influence, which you could totally see on Night of the Living Dead. And it's just a brilliant, just one of those films that's like really well made, and it was quite low budget.
Where is it from?
At the time? It's American film.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was very low budget. Like at the time, I think it was made for like $100,000 or something.
Right, yeah.
But
and what's kind of the one line on it, or
I guess it's about a girl who she's in a car crash at the start, and I suppose she's an organ player. She gets a job as an organ player in a new town, but everything it's kind of reminds me of a Polanski type movie, like Repulsion or something. Basically, the world is a bit odd. Like there are times where she's talking to people and they can't see her.
Yeah.
And she doesn't realize, and then she might wake up, and so it's kind of her reality is getting a bit weird. I mean, there's a twist throughout the film, but that's the basic idea.
Okay, yeah. Put it on the list,
yeah. It's on Shudder.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is this
new streaming, like Netflix for horror, basically. But like at $5 a month, and there's a load of those kind of like not the big films, but I think people like us have seen those films inside out. So like there's like all these other kind of weirder ones you're kind of curious about, but you wouldn't want to spend $20 buying on a Blu-ray or anything like that. But it's up there, so definitely worth.
Brilliant.
Are you on Shudder? Okay.
It officially launched the other day, but they did like a VIP kind of beta access thing for a couple of weeks before that, so I've been watching stuff on it for the last while. But it is. They got like about 7 or 8 of the Mario Bava films.
Oh, wow, okay.
A couple of the Herschel Gordon Lewis ones. They have some new ones as well, but like newish. They have like Mike Flanagan's first film, Absentia, I think. I haven't seen it, but like before he went on to Oculus and stuff. And The Battery, which I haven't seen yet.
Oh, that's what's the zombie one.
Yeah, so that's very good. Yeah. So there's a couple, but like there's a good selection of stuff on there. And they're getting Sadako versus Kayako. Stuff again that you kind of curiously stick on maybe after a beer or two in the evening. But definitely like for a $5 a month, I think for a horror fan, you're there.
Sure.
We're checking out.
So you were mentioning about films that kind of slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
So a huge one, like I mentioned before, randomly, was The Changeling. For me, I was just like, how have I never seen this film before? It's so cool. I really loved it. It's one of those movies I knew kind of 5 minutes into it. I was like, this is going to be one of my new favourites. But another one I only watched, I think maybe the year before last, was a movie, and I remember I really liked it at the time, but I probably couldn't tell you a huge amount about it. Was Ginger Snaps.
It's great.
That's a very good werewolf film.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm like,
again, feminism, but it's great.
You're not meant to qualify with but. Feminism, it's great.
Feminism and all that, but like, feminism aside.
No, but Ginger, like that is a perfect example though of how you can have like, say, a female-centric film actually like going with some of those issues and it's just adolescence in general. It's not really just for girls, but that you can have that and it can still be accessible. There's still that kind of paranoia that female-led horror films will be for girls and guys. And like that's such nonsense. Like when you see something like Ginger Snaps, you realise it works fucking perfectly across.
Like
either
there's
way.
nothing wrong with a guy in his late 20s watching
No,
a film
not
with
at all.
girls. It's totally
They're
normal.
smoking hot as well, aren't they?
I don't remember that.
She's also in American Mary.
Really?
So, yeah,
I did hear about that actually. Yeah, no,
that's
that
the main
sounds
girl
familiar.
from Ginger Snaps is American Mary. Yeah, I know. She looks different.
I like this
My
though
jaw's
about
on
this
the floor.
slipping through the cracks. I do like slipping through those cracks. Anyone else have any of those type of movies?
Loads of them.
Because they're great for to add to the watch list.
Loads of them, but they're all shite.
Another-
But I
I
love them.
Another one, and I've probably told Connor about this a million times, but I wonder if anyone else here has seen it. I'll give you two more. One is Unmasked: The Rise of Leslie Vernon.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
a-
I've not heard of it.
That's cool. It's like a mockumentary about kind of the making of a slasher. And I saw it once a couple of years ago, and I loved it. I need to watch it again, see if it holds up. Another one is Man Bites Dog.
Oh yeah,
You guys
yeah.
seen Man Bites Dog?
Oh, that's great.
I get
The
not
Belgian
heard of
film.
it.
It's again, funny enough, I didn't even realize both. It's another kind of found footage mockumentary.
Yeah,
kind of thing,
yeah.
But it's gritty. You'd almost watch it go, is this just real? Is this just actually a real film? And it's made by these these 4 Belgian guys. So there's the main guy who's the actor who's like this Belgian serial killer. There's the camera crew who are in the film and they start helping this serial killer, commit his things and hide the bodies and all. But it's just made by those 4 guys, I think. And even if you look at their IMDb's, I don't think they've done much else.
No, I don't think so.
There's just this kind of mystery around that project itself, and you're just kind of watching it going like, is this real? But yeah, that's
Deadly.
one I suppose that I definitely recommend if you want something to scare the
For
shit out of you.
sure.
Is there anything you wouldn't watch, or has there ever been a point where you go, "No, not watching that horror. That's too much," or
What do you mean by too much? Like too scary, too gory,
too gory? Too
Whatever reason,
No.
like, yeah.
No reason.
Like for some people,
No reason.
You know.
I just want to let people know the absolute serious look in Ali's face. when she
Yeah,
said
she's
that.
very serious. I think for me, I avoided watching a Serbian movie for many years because, and it's weird because I would watch anything, especially when I was younger. When you hear something was controversial, I was even more keen to see it.
Yeah,
Face
me
of
too, me
Death,
too.
Mondo Cane, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then when it came to that one, just even the description of the scenes, I don't know why, but I guess I got to a point where I felt like these people are just putting that shit in there
Exploiting it,
just to
yeah,
they
exactly.
want me to watch it just because that shit's in there as
Yeah.
opposed to
Yeah,
something
yeah.
else. And
Yeah.
eventually I relented because curiosity to see the thing, but then I immediately just felt stupid for doing it, and it was every way.
But that's not a horror movie, though.
It's more pulp, kind of.
Those movies I wouldn't consider horror. I
Well,
just
that cross between
consider-
exploitation though and horror,
Yeah, but they're literally like you just said there. They're films that they just want you to watch for this scene and that scene. They don't give a shite about the overall arc of the story or bringing you in.
you could say
or-
that about Fulci films though as well. And I love
That is the best argument ever.
But
ever.
You mentioned something that is actually kind of interesting about, like, when you're younger, you're kind of like seeking out, the more fucked up the
Yeah.
better,
Yeah.
and you're talking to your friends, he cuts this guy's head off,
Exactly,
sex
yeah.
of the body or whatever. I have to see that movie, right? But does anyone else find that the older they get, the harder that stuff is to watch,
No.
or is it just me?
I know. Well,
Desensitized
what's
as fuck.
it's more. I know people who've had kids, and that definitely brings a change in people.
Right.
I
you
think
know.
so, yeah.
For me, I'd still watch.
Unflinchingly watching the
Do you know what was the
decapitation.
Do you know
Would you
what's
seek it out though in the same way though? Like,
Yeah.
the more fucked up the better? Or
Like, I don't know if there's that much fucked up stuff around. I mean, a Serbian film or the Human Centipede were probably the two that just,
True. So Human Centipede 2 actually I found the most offensive of
Oh,
those
yeah.
ones.
I
Yeah,
still
like
watch it,
nasty.
but
that
I
was
love,
just
I
to
love
the
the
senses,
concept
like-
of it. The concept again. I
Oh,
would
yeah.
watch it for the concept, not for the actual.
But okay, this kind of reminds you of some of the crappier horror films we used to watch at the upstairs in the horror
Yeah,
concept.
yeah,
the
yeah.
kind of the sleazier Italian
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
Patrick
yeah,
Still
yeah,
Lives
yeah.
and stuff where, I'm all for that, and I like a concept, and I'm willing to watch pretty much anything out of curiosity, but I do get kind of uncomfortable when I feel like the director was not just trying to shock, but is actually getting kind of a weird kick out of stuff, especially that kind of sleazy sexual thing where I don't mind like sex being part of the things. I have no issue with that because like Cronenberg, all his stuff is all about sex and penetration and everything. But like,
Add that word.
Sex penetration.
It's the fact that I slipped my index finger through as I said it. But no, it's just when there's some of them where you just kind of go, I think that's kind of a pervert justifying their own things as opposed to someone trying to create a really interesting or scary thing. There is a difference, and you do feel it when you watch certain films.
There is, but I think the reason that we as horror lovers, we have that, and I am not saying that I'm a pervert, but we're all a little perverted that we like the darker side of life. I mean, that's why horror exists. It was originally created as like to literally scare the shit out of people, take people out of their lives by making what was happening in real life a whole lot scarier on the screen. So like, I do think, I mean, obviously, like if you're like, who's it, Toby Hooper, who actually, or no, Vic, Jeepers Creepers guy who actually was
Victor Salva, isn't it?
Victor Salva.
Oh god, yeah.
The Jeepers Creepers, by the way. So I'm sorry, I know he's whatever. Jeepers Creepers is a fantastic film.
That was good.
It's fantastic movie.
It's something about that, the sleaziness though, about some of those films though that you're talking about. Like sometimes those films with the fucked up subject matter, like if they're made in a really gritty and sleazy kind of way, like even production value wise, it can make them that bit more disturbing and leave you with that kind of sick kind of feeling. Like I remember there was this film I watched a couple of years ago. Someone recommended it to me. They're like, "Oh, you have to watch this film. It's called The House at the End of Dead End Street."
Of Dead End.
And it's about some guy who starts making snuff films or something like that.
Wow.
And it's just so grimy and gritty and crappy, and it just leaves you with such a horrible feeling.
And is that what, like, it's an interesting thing, because is that what you want from horror, or do you want to feel
Again,
good?
I don't want to have a shower afterwards.
I don't feel like that type of like a snuff movie is a horror. I mean, again, that's just exploitation.
It's
like
not
because you do, like you just said there. I want to be enjoyed, be scared shitless. I want to have nightmares.
you want to laugh and scream.
I don't want to look at it and go, oh my god. Like, you know, like actually, like I'm watching the news. Like I see enough bad stuff on the news. I don't want to be brought back to reality by going, like, people actually do go off and make snuff movies like this.
I generally agree with that, because like I wanted just a good story, but like I really did still like Martyrs, and that really pushed me, and that was one of the ones where in the cinema did shock me still, and I, because the story is so kind of off kilter, for once I didn't know what was going to happen next. Definitely did not know what was going to happen.
But I didn't feel like that was exploitative.
No, well, it is to some extent, because like it's incredibly brutal, and it does enjoy its physical torture of people. Like it relishes those scenes. Well, like the scene of your one getting in the bath is so tragic and painful after when she brings her down, like, and pulling the kind of staples out of her head. Like it's so it puts you through the torture and pain of that, which is important, but it is still enjoying it. It's kind of like having your cake and eating it, where you're kind of, it's like the rape revenge films that kind of go, but like she gets revenge afterwards, but did I really need half an hour of seeing the terrible act before I saw the, I would debate the motives on that.
Martyrs, I feel, is like it's the same way. It's that same feeling you get when you watch a documentary. I mean, obviously it was a piece of fiction, but it was that hard hitting, like while being entertained. But I don't think it was exploitative.
But did you not like I think when we saw it at the Hearthon, like people, it was one of those ones where the film ended and people kind of walked out quietly. It's like when Charlie's Family, the Jim Van Bever film, was shown. And that's the weird thing about seeing some of these films in a cinema as opposed to on your own. Like there can be that mass
guilt
feeling with it, that you'd be less uncomfortable probably if you watched it on your own. Like I'd say if I saw a Serbian movie in a theater full of other people, I would feel dirtier.
I'd pull my hood up.
Do you
Do you know
and
what
put your clothes back
for
on.
me? For me though, right? It wasn't even in a horror film, but definitely the scene that I saw in the last 2 years that was the most disgusting thing that I could barely watch. It was the end of Charlotte's Web. Have you seen that movie?
No.
Like the animated version or the live action?
Yeah, but the pig goes in and he there's like the eggs, the spider eggs, and the pig puts them in his mouth, and
what happens?
Alison Charlotte is horrifying.
It's absolutely just well, the spider is horrible
He
anyway.
eats the eggs and then
it's
they
like
attach.
No, he just carries the little egg sack from his mouth. It's not even in his mouth. The little.
I couldn't watch it. Disgusting.
Give me a Serbian film any day.
You meet the director, you pervert.
I think. Can I say something on the flip side of why I wouldn't watch a horror film?
Yeah.
I don't like The Conjuring 2 or the Insidious 2. I don't like piss take horror films. I don't like if I think it's going to be like I'm sorry, if I think it's going to be a comedy, not so much a comedy, like it's fun, like I love horror comedy, but like if it's going to make fun of itself,
Yeah, I agree.
I'm like, no,
You can't
you're
take it seriously.
like, if you're going to be a horror comedy, be a horror comedy. I love horror comedy, like the Fearless Vampire Killers, like.
But that's made with love
phenomenal.
of the genre
of
as well.
both genres, and like they mix so well together. But if you're literally like going to be like Insidious 2 or Paranormal Activity 2 or any of these where they're like, oh, we actually scared people a little too much, let's make it a little lighter, and I will not go see something that's taking the piss out of itself.
See, I'm kind of with you on that in a slightly different way, and I don't know whether everyone's going to hate me for this statement, but my issue kind of with the more modern trend of elevated horror, you know, this notion of it's called elevated horror because it's smarter than normal horror, which is very insulting to people who love the genre. But I just saw The Girl with All the Gifts the other day in the cinema, and that got 5 stars off Empire. You know, it's this whole new zombie thing, apparently like a masterpiece, and like I love zombie films if they kind of go with different approaches, but it felt like the person making it like deliberately felt they were making it better than a horror film by avoiding certain parts and not actually going for it, and that just it made me sad because it's really quite insulting. Like, you know, the notions in there are interesting, but it just thinks it's too arty for its own good, and it's above the genre that it's actually embracing, and that fucks me off.
This is something that because I'm working with a company right now, and they horror. No one wants to say the word horror anymore.
Yeah, it's
I
a dirty
know.
word.
This
Dirty
is
word.
it.
Dirty word. Like what?
Yeah.
What?
Even horror movies that are horror movies are kind of like, no, it's not your typical horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Like, but what's wrong with your
What's
typical
wrong?
horror movie?
I feel the need to, when
Exactly.
people say what kind of movies do you make, I say horror films, and I always feel the need to qualify and
Yeah,
say, no,
yeah.
but like good ones.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a shitty thing to have to
It is.
And I actually think it's a big problem in Ireland, like because I think it's the kind of thing that, like you say, nobody wants to say they're like every production company that's making horror films is making elevated genre.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah.
Because they want to.
It's the buzzword.
They just don't want to say, you know, because it has this bad association with horror, or like it's also like that you can't just make something like Carpenter just to scare people, just for the fun. It's like, and like I mean, we all love both kinds of horror, you know, whatever.
There's room for all of it.
Yeah. But it's this idea that you have to apologize.
I think part of the problem with that in Ireland as well is that horror, as popular as it is a bit of a fringe genre or a niche genre. You know what I mean? That it's not going to be like everybody in the household is going to like horror films. You know, so if you're a niche genre in America, for example, your following is going to be in the millions.
Yeah, true.
You know, is going to be more than the population of Ireland. But if you're a niche genre in Ireland, that's going to be, you know, a fraction of the population of the country. You know, so it's just harder to. It's just immediately less popular than it would be on a bigger scale.
I think that's something like, and we've talked about this as well. Like Connor, and I'm so sorry, I've not seen your movies. But I will.
I swear
I
they're
will.
good.
I will. But like Connor is making like your movies are very Irish, but they're like hard. You know, you're making like I'm gonna say it, Irish horror films.
What?
All this time.
This is news to Connor. They are emotional thrillers.
Dead meat is an elevated genre.
But like I've always maintained that Ireland is like we are like it's full of Catholic fear, and it's like we invented Dracula. Like lads, we could be the horror capital of the freaking world if we wanted to.
Scary place.
It's a horror place, and there's so many things that we
much
have.
mythology, so much like, you know, great
there's,
myths.
There's so many things that we can do, and we can change it. And you guys
But
change
do you know,
it.
actually, because I think you're right, but it's this issue
Scary
between
shit.
it's who's making the films and then the audience, because like there's a notion that it should be elevated horror that has to have something more to it. But I think the reality is the average, teenage couple out there who want to go and see a horror film, who may not go all the time, but, at Halloween or anything, when they go to see a horror film, they want to see a straight-up horror film. They want to see a Halloween.
Yeah.
I don't think they want to watch an arty kind of film that's,
that's
touching on the notions of it. They don't want to see that film. They want to see, I think,
But they want to
Nightmare
see
on Elm Street.
they want to see one of these because not being sexist, the lads are also scared, so they just want to be not scared enough so they can still put their arm around their girlfriend.
No,
so
it's
they're
safe
like
enough,
safe.
So
safe.
for me, who even as a filmmaker has never heard the term, or maybe I have heard the term elevated genre film, but what constitutes an elevated genre film?
Basically, more psychological.
Okay.
I mean, to me, me being cynical, I'd say it comes out of producers looking at horror films, going, horror does well.
Yes.
We want to make a horror, but we don't want to be seen to be making a horror. So it's an elevated genre. So I that's kind of where it comes out of.
Yeah.
So you can still make it without having to go, it's like. I mean, I think to some people it's close to pornography. If them saying we're going to make
it is.
Absolutely, or a
It
B
is taboo.
movie. It's
It
a
is
B
taboo.
movie.
Yeah.
Like I
But
mean,
B movies, that's something that people want.
Well, yeah, because that's A movies are now B movies. The Indiana Jones and everything started that, where basically it's just big budgeted B movies.
Yeah.
But would you say that the elevated genre thing, it's like a scary movie with a kind of a deep story, or like a good story? Is that kind of what they're...
Like an elevated horror would be, I mean, just thinking of psychological, like a Rosemary's Baby would be elevated genre. Then...
But that wasn't... Yeah, see, that's the reality, though. That was someone who wanted to tell that story. He didn't twist the story to try and be... And that's the danger, because, it's like sometimes... I don't know if it's the same for you, Connor, when you're writing your scripts, but like some of my stories... There is kind of a message I'm trying to work on. There's other ones where I want to write a kind of a straight up horror, but it's not like you go into it thinking I'm going to make an elevated bit or I'm going to make this an intelligent one. It's just whatever appeals to you. And I don't think Polanski sat down trying to say I'm going to make the deepest, most intelligent horror film. In fact, I don't even think he sat down to make a horror film. I think he sat down to tell this story. And it is a horror film in its own right, but it's also a drama and everything else. And I think by us being so pigeonholed into that, it's a silly mistake. Because even The Exorcist is a drama as well as a horror.
Absolutely.
Completely a family drama. As it were. And so it's mostly, I think, at this point in time, if you are James Wan and you have big studio money behind you, you can say that you are a horror.
True.
But if you are not and you're independent, that's when you have to be
psychological
thriller.
Because a lot of the money as well is, it is coming from governments or grants.
Right,
So the other way is to say it's elevated or it's more meaningful.
More worthy.
It's easier to get money for it rather than I just want to kill these 5 people.
Yeah, that's it. I just want to have
the most
fun
inventive ways possible.
People,
No, you're not getting our European funding.
Wow. I feel like I learned something today. That's cool.
Don't worry, that term will stick in your throat.
At least I'm prepared.
Where are we, Connor?
We're nearly there. Just 2 other things which are kind of topical. The appearance of clowns across the country.
Did you see Ross Noble was speaking about it today at Fright Fest, their one-day thing? Because he had his film at it, but apparently he was addressing the issue. So I presume
what was his film?
He was in a wonderful film called Stitches.
Yay!
Directed by the man to my right, being Conor McMahon.
Yay.
For those who can't see, we'll put a picture up.
This is my voice.
But no, but I think he's directed a new film. I can't quite remember what it's called.
Oh, is this a short film?
I don't know actually, but it was shown today. I just saw it was up on Twitter before I came in here. But so he was embracing it. But so Connor, do you feel somewhat responsible for this?
No doubt. No, it's all, I was curious. Was it the It remake or was it? Did it just start, or was it started by? Is it some campaign?
Because I've just been working, so I haven't really.
I've only heard snippets of it.
It's been incredible.
Tell me.
All over the world.
It's a worldwide thing.
Creeps are dressing up as killer clowns. They're following kids to school with knives.
As in
creeps.
The juggly wugglies.
Juggalos. No, I don't think they're juggalos.
No, it's just random people.
Yeah.
Just dressing up as clowns.
But they've been banning clown masks now in America.
Yeah.
But what are the clowns doing?
They just stand there.
They're standing out at night, like in the street under streetlights, staring at people or following people down the road and intimidating people.
There
basically.
was a viral video thing that went around a couple of years ago. One of these prank videos that they have, and it's like someone is dressed up as a scary clown with a sledgehammer standing menacingly at the end of a car park, and there's like a a fake body and they slam the head and you see
Oh,
people freaking out.
yeah.
And I think that inspired a lot of people around the world to start doing their own versions of it. Where I don't know if they're filming them, maybe they're not, but they're definitely showing up in random places and scaring people. But yeah, like there were some people who did it in Ireland recently.
Yeah, they went into a school with a chainsaw.
But those guys were there was the kind of the horror nights thing that's on the RDS. I think that was a slight misunderstanding.
It was supposedly
those guys,
like a viral marketing kind of thing, but people were freaked out. People didn't know what the hell was going on. But the director of it, the remake of it, was online saying this is absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
to
no,
do
they've
with
disowned
our
it,
film.
and Stephen King has come out as well to say
nothing
grow
to do with our
up,
film.
like,
John Carpenter as well is talking about it. No.
But now it's started to turn as though people are starting to beat up the clowns.
Yeah, you see a guy dressed as Batman going around.
Oh God!
Jesus
Christ!
That's fantastic.
I think, like, it's a weird thing because obviously, like, it seems like a kind of harmless little bit of fun, but like for younger kids, it definitely is terrifying. But secondly, it's just, I don't know. There's something really just jerky thing about it. Like,
showing up at a school is a serious
going
no-no.
into a
like
school
with a
with a
weapon,
chainsaw-
with a
with a
thing
real
that's even supposed to
chainsaw.
like
yeah.
But that is, you might as well be going into a school with a gun. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Fair
just
point. Yeah.
like no one in their right mind would do that. I don't care
Yeah.
what like event you're promoting.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that gave them some good traction on their event. I don't know, but it's not cool.
But
Don't do that, people.
but-
Don't do that.
the one thing that I will take from it is that it's still okay to be afraid of clowns. Then that's okay.
Yes, that's okay. You're doing okay.
I'm okay. That's okay. Yeah, because clowns are horrifying. What do we feel about the It remake?
Why not? If you rewatch the original, it doesn't stand up. I'm so happy to throw that out there. Tim Curry, incredible.
No, please.
Looks incredible.
Please.
The film
Do you know?
a
Please. Do you
pile
know? Oh, awesome!
shit.
No, like the only way I could get through that as a child was it's Dr. Frankenfurter. It's Dr. Frankenfurter. It's Dr. Frankenfurter.
It's only a alien transvestite. That's all.
So much less scary. No, but okay, I get because he's incredible in it, and it scared the hell out of me as a kid. Scared the hell out of me when
Too
it was
long.
Sky One as a mini-series thing.
Yeah.
I only saw parts of it because I had to go to bed before it was on, so that was even scarier because you didn't even really
Sky
know.
One,
Yeah, but they showed it over a couple of nights. They did a few of the Stephen
They
King
didn't make
TV ones.
No, it was
Showed
back in the day.
Well, Sky existed back in the day.
Yeah, I think they
Sky
definitely
One
showed
showed it.
it.
No, they
Sky
did.
movies
It
and
was
stuff,
it was a
yeah.
Wednesday and a Thursday night or something for whatever,
Right,
2
right.
hours each
Right.
with ad breaks. But like no, like it is, and he looks incredible. I just don't think the film, because it's not really, it is a TV kind of movie thing.
It is,
3
yeah.
hours, and it's nowhere near as scary as you remember it being. He is incredible, but the story doesn't work for
It's
me.
another one of
The
those.
book's
I think I have a couple of thoughts on that. Like, I mean, I think it's another one of those long Stephen King adaptations that could have been just trimmed down into a slick 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
You know, I thought there was some cool performances from the kids, and I thought it had a really great feel to it. You know, it just really felt like a Stephen King book kind of coming to life. And I loved the embodiment of all people's fears, you know, and people always kind of give the giant spider at the end, like even when we were kids we were like, that giant spider looks like crap.
Yeah.
Like we just
Bring back
still
the
thought it was crap. But I still get the giant spider being this great symbol of fear that like, you know, so many people can relate to that. Everyone's most people are afraid of spiders, clowns. And I do like things, and I think I watched it again like a year or two ago going like, okay, let's see if this stands up. And I think because it's in 2 halves on the DVD, you flip the DVD over or whatever. And I think I remember thinking the first half was better than the second half, or basically the half with the kids.
It is,
I think it was better than the other half.
Because that's when you watched it, so that's what you're relating to.
But it's Stand By Me with a terrifying clown. Like it's why it works so well.
You know what I watched? Speaking of Stephen King miniseries, you know what I watched recently? I haven't seen it in years. The Stand.
Oh
wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
How
It's
does
like
that hold up?
6
Gary
hours
Sinise.
long. It's just, you know, you're watching it. There's some great like Stephen
There
King
is some
style
good stuff
moments
in
in
it.
it. It has that cool sequence at the start where
Don't Fear the Reaper.
Don't Fear the Reaper's playing,
Incredible.
and the camera's like tracking through all the people who've just collapsed dead in the middle of their jobs and stuff, which is really cool. It's the great like shifting perspective narrative between all the different stories, and just so many characters that are just again straight out of a Stephen King book. But the villain, Randall Flagg,
The Bon Jovi type.
the denim jeans, and
Never
denim
double
jacket,
denim. Never double denim.
long
It's
hair.
back in.
He's funny, like, you know, he's very silly and very funny. and it's a task watching that 6 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is, and there's a remake of that coming as well. I
there
believe.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's Rose Red, who
Yes.
you're actually one of the only people who have.
I
This is actually
really
probably
liked
the first
Rose
conversation
Red,
I've had
yeah.
with anyone except my dad about
Because
Rose
most
Red.
people didn't watch it because it was like a straight to DVD. Like Stephen King wrote it for
I've never seen it.
TV.
I've never
I have
seen
it at
it.
home. I'll give you a lens of it. I'll give you the stand as well.
He even owns it. This is
but
great.
it was
There's
just-
only 2 people who bought it in the world.
There are only 2
I even
copies.
have the prequel, The Diary of Ellen Rimbauer,
Wow.
because it came in a box set. To be honest with you, but it was just again. I think the first half is probably stronger than the second
Yes.
half, but
Yeah.
like it's because based on the Winchester House kind of idea, you know, you're going to keep adding the rooms.
Okay.
You know, the famous true life story. The father created the Winchester rifle, I think, but she became paranoid that the souls that had been killed by the guns that he created were coming to haunt her.
okay.
So the only way to stop them being able to find her was by, without planning, randomly building on extra rooms and extensions onto her house so that they would get lost. So it was said that even she could get lost. You can go and visit the house, like it's still there in
Yeah,
America. There's
yeah.
stairs that lead to nowhere and doors that open to blank walls, like and stuff like that.
Right.
But anyway, this is kind of based around that, and it's the idea of a house changing when you're in there. And again, your standard setup of a haunted house thing, which some
Yeah.
people might say is unoriginal, but that's what I want when I'm seeing a haunted house film. I want to see the team.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't mind that they hit. It's like when I see an action film, I want the tough guy, the nerdy one, the funny one. Like I like those
Yeah.
kind of tropes.
You
Put
gotta-
them in a good story.
You gotta
know?
play the hits.
Yeah.
You gotta play the hits. Like
Yeah.
you go to see Bob Dylan, you go to see. You want them to play the hits.
Yeah, yeah.
Carpenter better play the hits.
Oh, he's gonna play the hits on Tuesday. Yeah.
But you should check out Rose Red. 'Cause
Yeah.
it
I've
is-
just put it on my list
It
there.
is
Yeah.
like it's long. I don't think it's as long as The Stand.
I think it's
like,
3 hours.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
but it
I
is.
can
It's
handle
got
that.
it's got one of the McPoyles in it,
Oh,
and it's
Jimmy
got
Simpson,
uh,
the one.
the one that doesn't have the uni. Or they
Oh,
both have the
okay.
unibrow. that one, and then it has your man from Silicon Valley when he
Haven't
was
seen that
fat.
Oh, is he that guy? The one
And it's really scary, and it is when you're watching it. It's so Stephen King.
Right.
It's like if you've read the book The Shining, it's basically the same thing,
Yeah.
except completely different.
Okay.
And it's fantastic. There's a kid in it that has a dead hand, so you just see this ghost
Take
kid.
the straw.
This little dead hand. It's fantastic. It's really creepy.
One of the funny things about watching those big mini-series things for a second time is you're watching going, well, this is definitely the last time I'm ever going to watch this because I'm not giving Stephen King another 6 hours of my life
But you
again.
keep going back to it, and they made
Yeah.
it. They did a mini series of The Shining with
Of course,
That
I've
I didn't
seen
like.
that,
Rebecca
yeah.
Remenstein or whatever her name
That
is.
was that was Stephen King's true
It was,
representation
yes,
of the.
yeah.
And I love the book,
Yeah.
but that
Yeah.
miniseries is not
It was
the book.
awful. No, it was awful. But at
Yeah.
least it was as true because the book. I'm not
It's
gonna.
true to his awful bitch.
Like the book actually scared me more than even though that woman lived
Yeah.
in my bathroom, and even though like that movie is one of my favorite horror films, like the freaking topiary from the
Yeah,
book.
that was good.
Yeah.
But
That works in the book, but
Petrifying.
can't work on
It
live
can't.
action.
I agree
But
with
the
you.
maze in the Kubrick film, like I mean, that's so iconic. Like
Kubrick took that book, he made it his own,
he did.
and The Shining as a film is exceptional. and
He was
perfect.
originally developing the script with Stephen King, and then somewhere along the way he decided he was just going to go his own way with it and got a different.
But I think,
screenwriter
you know,
involved.
because like I'm a huge Stephen King fan, but I think
Yeah.
it's fair to say that his judgment when it comes to films isn't as good. You know what I mean? Like
I
I think
agree.
he is better off the better adaptations. Because I really like Cujo as well as Pet Sematary and stuff. Like you know, Dead Zone, Cronenberg's version, I think is a great version.
Oh,
like
that's brilliant.
I think he's better off writing the books and then having a strong person come in and actually like because
Yeah.
Cujo boils down that story to a 90-minute film and cuts
Yeah.
out about nearly 30 or 40% of the book. But it's true to the essence, and I think that's the better way to have it than a maximum overdrive.
Has-
You know?
Stephen King said he doesn't remember writing Cujo because it was during his really high
His
Coke
cokehead.
coke phase.
Let's call it
He
what
said
it
he was
was.
just writing and writing with tissues stuffed up his nose because of the blood. It's in
Yeah.
his book
Oh my
on
God.
writing, which is just
Oh my
everyone should
God.
read.
One of the
It's
best
brilliant.
books for anyone who wants to do writing.
Absolutely fantastic. But a Stephen King movie I watched recently that I used to love that didn't hold up was The Dark Half. Has anyone seen The Dark Half?
Yeah, the Romero.
George Romero directed. It's about this writer who has like this twin brother kind of inside of him in utero situation, and he's
like inside
in
of him.
in his body. Yeah, he had to get some of the pieces of the twin removed and all this stuff.
Ooh,
and
wow.
it's like it starts to come out. He's this alter ego as a writer.
He wrote it. It basically came about after, because when he was writing his
Richard
Bachman
Bachman.
books, but he was discovered, so he had to exercise that character because he was always
Yeah.
wondering this. So the dark half is meant to be that writer having to pull out this other side that did the really nasty stuff and having to bury it and move on. So it's an interesting thing when you watch it with that kind of thing in mind. But yeah, the film isn't.
It really didn't hold up.
No.
Like, I mean, basically, there's this sheriff in it who I think appears in some other Stephen King stories. He kind of crosses over. But basically, he the main character in the film is kind of being the first suspect of all of these murders. But the sheriff is just taking a lot of it on faith that he's like that it's not him.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, all these other people getting killed, and you're like, no, like the sheriff should arrest this guy. Like
the Johnny Depp Secret Window kind of was a very close sort of rip off of it. It's that kind of.
In that book where Secret Window came from, I read The Langoliers, which was the worst movie
I
ever
know,
made.
yeah. Next to the Tommy Knocker.
Ever made.
Yeah.
But that story, I would love to see that. That is a movie that I'd love to see be made.
Which?
Like The Langoliers.
the Langoliers.
Is that how you pronounce it?
I say the Langoliers.
Langoliers.
I have always just said the Langoliers. And it just sounds so
If you're
wrong.
listening, Stephen, get in touch.
Someone recently did a quick cut online of all the Stephen King adaptations ranked. So it's just a quick video, of like 50 Stephen King adaptations, and it's great to watch because you just suddenly remember. You're like, oh yeah, the Tommy Knockers, and
Stand By Me.
Well, Stand By Me, but those ones make it very close to the top 10 and stuff, But there's so many in the 50s area.
Cool. So finally, what films will you be watching over this Halloween? Is there anything coming up? I know for me, Train to Busan.
Yeah.
Yes,
Definitely.
Yeah, for
definitely
sure.
looking forward to that.
Any other new ones that you haven't seen before? I think that's the main one. Cause
I've heard Raw is pretty rough.
yeah, Raw is supposed to be very good.
I don't know whether that rough in a good way or not, but I'm curious about that. And is the autopsy of
That's supposed to be great.
Yeah, I heard a
Because
lot
it's
of
from-
good word about that. I haven't read up on any of these to try and go in as fresh as possible,
Is it a real autopsy?
but no, but I
It's the guy.
I saw the real autopsy though. That was interesting.
What's the director? Oh. Which real autopsy?
the one on Channel
Area
4. Remember they
51?
broadcast the one on TV?
That weird chap
The guy
who
with
wears
the
the hat. Take your hat off.
Do you remember
It's
Channel 4?
disrespectful.
They broadcast the live autopsy.
Oh, I don't
It was,
know.
yeah. Anyway, go on, Connor. Sorry,
I was just saying, who? I know that's a director who's done something else.
I can't.
The
Yeah,
Jingo
offhand.
one.
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
sure.
But they seem to be the ones that have the buzz about them.
And then the Don't Kill It. Have you seen this? With,
I haven't heard anything
Don't
about that.
kill it.
it's a new Dolph Lundgren movie where if
You had me at Dolph
Sold.
Lundgren.
if you shoot whoever kills the demon gets possessed.
That's cool.
It's like
I
It
that.
Follows, but there's no sex.
Oh,
Yeah.
can I just say,
Where is the point?
just to backtrack a little bit, I think someone said, you said earlier about the best kind of horror films of the past like 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
It Follows.
Absolutely.
It
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
follows.
completely.
It followed.
I'm in a horror book club, Fright Club, and we did for our anniversary, we did a thing where we had to go run around town and go to different, like a witch hunt, I suppose.
Right.
But one of the things they told us was that there was an It Follows part of it, and that there was somebody going to be following us, that we didn't know who it was, but if they tipped us on the shoulder, we were out of the game.
Oh,
And we were going around town, terrified of every person.
I can't do this. See,
So
like, I
what?
love my
Amazing.
horror films, but I don't like to be scared in real life. So, on that bombshell, folks.
nice knowing you guys.
Happy
It's
Halloween!
a wrap.
Horror show. Have a real horror show. Bye.
do a sign off.
We
Connor.
do need to there's no title for our horror podcast. We should get.
Are we going to do like one a year, or are we going to try and make it a more regular thing?
It'd be good to do it more regularly,
Yeah, I
wouldn't
think
it?
so.
Also, can I just point something out that you won't be able to see? But look, Gabriel Byrne is looking at us
Oh,
Well,
shit.
from so many
He's
angles.
watching over.
We're surrounded by Film Ireland covers of the classic Irish magazine.
Yeah, Gabriel Byrne isn't actually. He's the corner.
It's not
Oh, sorry, Gabriel, you've been bumped.
Mr. Byrne.
Yeah.
sitting on the
Oh, do you
couch.
want to get a word in?
Yeah, we didn't have time for the interview today.
No, but, can I just give 2 shout outs to Gabriel Byrne there?
Yeah.
Can I give a shout out to Candyman? We never
Yes!
mentioned
Oh,
Candyman.
Philip Glass!
I wanted to say, yeah,
Amazing, amazing.
one of my favourites.
Again, he lived down my toilet. He was going to.
Why is Candyman in your toilet? Now, that doesn't even make sense.
I'd love to get the
Because
tour
the
of your
scene with
house.
the child.
It's like, and this is where Candyman
The
lives, also known
child,
as the
and
toilet.
he gets his hook, and he gets the hook up, and there's a child on the toilet.
There,
and the hook,
no. What?
Which
no.
one is that in?
the first Candyman.
No.
No.
No. No.
Guys, there is a child
No, there
in
is
that
not.
public toilet.
There, no.
Yes.
There's
And Candyman's
the
hook
girl
comes up
No. The girl goes into the toilet and she gets battered by a gangster guy pretending to be Candyman.
but the hook
No.
is in the toilet.
No.
This is childhood.
No.
You're ruining like
No, it's brilliant.
Scars.
If anything, he's
You're
clearing
ruining
bad
scars.
memories.
Yeah. it's one of my favourite films, but no.
Really?
Yeah. But watch again, it is incredible.
I swear to God, I remember there being Candyman.
You're going to lend me your version and you'll have shot your own little scene. Inserted it in there. I see Connor's head poking it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Not disappointing though, because that wouldn't be a good scene.
Are you kidding me? I was afraid to go to the bathroom. Freaking hook in the toilet.
Okay. So, no name for the podcast then?
No name for the podcast at the moment.
Hook baby.
Hook baby. It sounds like it's too close to George Hook.
That's
You
true.
know?
Yeah.
We'll have a think about it.
Okay.
The Langoliers.
Oh no. God no. You know, people have to see this and decide if they want to download it or not.
That's true. That is true. This is the Langoliers podcast. Just 2 hours of Langoliers talk once a day.
Well, either way, we hope you enjoyed our conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Good man.
Peter Dinklage rocks.
Keep watching scary movies.
Cool.
Be scared. Bye.
See ya.